Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. The time has arrived. Halloween Ends has been released in theaters around the world. The final conclusion to the Halloween saga as we know it is here. What did you think about it? It's proving to be quite divisive, and we're going to talk about it today, and I'm going to give you my thoughts. Of course, if you tuned into my immediate reaction last night, when I got out of the theater with Bruce, you might know sort of what I'm about to say, but I'm looking forward to talking about this today. This is it, ladies and gentlemen, for the last 4 to 5 years, all coming to a head here in this epic moment. This epic moment, ladies and gentlemen. The date today is Saturday, October the 15th, 2022, 12:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. And all right. Here's how this is going to go down. First thing is first. I've written some things down here. First thing is first. If you are looking for me to confirm your thoughts and how you feel, you're watching the wrong stream. That doesn't mean that we may not align. That doesn't mean that we may not feel the same way. But if you're tuning in just to hear me go, this is the biggest fucking dicks, and nothing less will satisfy you, then you might as well just tune out now, because I'm not going to do that. And there's reasons why. Number two, if you're new here, welcome. I talk a lot. I talk for a living. I talk a lot, and I can be verbose, and I can repeat things, but I don't repeat things because I think I have forgotten that I've already said it. I repeat things to emphasize and hammer home a point. I'm a communicator. I'm a talker. That's just who I am. Deal with it.
He's fucking going on and talking. He just doesn't stop.
And I do, funny voices like that too. Let me see here. Wait, what the hell did I write there? I don't even know what the fuck I wrote there. Okay, so now that that's out of the way. Halloween ends. Okay, Halloween ends. All right. Here's the situation. So before I went to see, now with Halloween 2018, I was fortunate enough to see the movie twice, actually, before the world saw it. I was fortunate enough to see it at the world premiere here in Toronto at TIFF, about 6 weeks before it was released to everybody. And then about 2 days before it was released to everybody, Lewis from the Nerd Report, a buddy of mine, has got a great channel talking pop culture and all that kind of stuff. He lives out in Los Angeles. And when I was out there for the 40th anniversary convention, I was also out there for the Voice Arts Awards at Warner Brothers. He invited me to the Chinese theater to watch Halloween 18. It was like a day before it was released to everybody, a day or two. And that was really cool. And that was a lot of fun. With Halloween Kills, I was able to see an advanced screening about 2 days before it was released to everybody. So that was great. But with Halloween Ends, I saw it with everybody else. There were a couple of opportunities that I could have capitalized on for an early screening, but I was just too busy this week. So last night, Bruce and I went out to dinner. We celebrated 30 years of friendship. Bruce and I have known each other for 30 years. Pretty cool. And we decided to go see Halloween Ends because we saw Halloween 18 together. We saw Halloween Kills together. So we got to cap it off. So let's go see Halloween Ends. And, but before we did, because this time around, I was not part of the group that actually was able to see it before everybody else. I was sort of just watching people's non-spoilery reviews, even though look, if you follow me for any length of time, if you've been following me on this channel, you know that with what we've been talking about on this channel, we pretty much hit it out of the park. I mean, it's not rocket science, right? So I pretty much knew what to expect going in. I pretty much knew what to expect going into this movie. And maybe that helped. Maybe that actually helped. If you're somebody that had no idea, you avoided spoilers, you avoided trailers and teasers and ads and promotions, and you just went in completely cold. Well, you know what? I could understand why you might be like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? I completely understand. But because I sort of knew what to expect, I was just kind of watching a movie that pretty much already confirmed what I already knew. So maybe the impact was a little less. But watching others sort of talk about it in a non-spoilery way, and I made sure that even though I kind of probably knew what was going to happen, I made sure that I didn't watch spoiler reviews or spoilery things just in case there was something that I didn't know. So, and the general consensus was fascinating to me. It was fascinating because you either, you have the hyperbolic, it was a fucking dog shit. And then you have the other side, it was the most incredible thing I've ever seen of all time. It's my #1 film of the year. You got, the two extremes. And then you have a little more nuance kind of in the middle, right? Where you have people saying, but it was fascinating to me on how polarizing it was. I'm like, hi, this is going to be interesting. And watching the movie, I think I see why. So if you're looking for me to say that this is a dog shit movie, this is the worst movie in the Halloween franchise, I guess from a certain perspective, it is. But again, I don't think we can just look at it from that perspective. This is not a horrible movie. Okay? It's not a horrible movie, but it's not a Halloween movie. This isn't a Halloween movie. And if you've watched me for any length of time, you'll know that I said that about the 18 movie. Well, the 18 movie is a much more of a Halloween movie than this movie is. And I am perplexed and confused at the trajectory. I'm perplexed and confused on why this was the story they decided to tell. Now, again, this worked for a lot of people. And please understand that I'm not coming at it from this perspective because I don't get it or
You just don't get it.
no, I get it. Okay. I'm a pretty, intelligent film guy. I get it. I'm not saying I'm the most intelligent film guy, but listen, I get it. I understand what the story was. I understood the layers. I understood the symbolism. I understood the social commentary. I understood what was going on. I get it. I totally get it. But that doesn't mean it works. That doesn't mean it worked for me in the sense of being the final movie in a trilogy, the final Halloween Michael Myers movie as we know it. It didn't work for me. If I was in the writer's room and this was proposed, I would have said, okay, interesting take, interesting idea. That's kind of cool. But I don't think we should do it for this movie. That might be a cool anthology movie, but I don't think we should do it for the final act in this trilogy. And I would have advised against it, and I probably would have been voted down. But that's what this movie played out to me as, is an anthology film. Now, I don't mean that literally, because I've already seen people online saying,
It can't be an anthology film because Michael Myers is in it and Corey gets the essence.
I get that. I don't mean that it's literally an anthology film. I mean, for all intents and purposes, because Michael Myers is hardly in the movie. And really, I got to be honest with you, the movie was kind of interesting until Michael Myers actually made an appearance. Michael doesn't need to be in this movie. If you're telling this story, if this is the story you want to tell, then make it an anthology piece. And the fact that Michael is hardly in this movie, and there's a lot of people that actually like this movie and the direction, maybe Malik Akkad should perk up and take notice and go, huh. Now technically it's not an anthology film. You got Laurie Strode, you got a whole Halloween. I get that. But it's as close to an anthology film that we could probably get with still having it connected to the larger Halloween story. And because the vast majority of the movie is about Corey Cunningham. And a lot of people seem to really like it. So what the fuck do we need Myers for? Oh, right. We need Myers because his evil is passed to Corey. And that's the catalyst that sort of, starts Corey's downward trajectory. Okay. But there's many different ways that we can deliver the social commentary about evil and about the nature of evil and how it affects a town and all that kind of stuff without Michael Myers. We can certainly do that, have it connected to the Halloween universe as an anthology piece, or not connected. I mean, it's up to you. But you don't need Michael for that. I mean, I understand why he's there, of course, but it feels like that this was some really interesting ideas, some interesting themes. I didn't hate the movie. I don't hate it like I despise Resurrection or Halloween 5 or, I don't hate it because there are some interesting themes and character development at play with beloved, quote unquote, Laurie Strode, legacy character. So it's interesting. So you're watching this and you're like, oh, this is interesting. I like the nuance. I like, we've pulled things back. It's a bit slower, we have some character development. Okay, this is, and I like that kind of thing. But then Myers makes an appearance and you're like, oh, what the fuck are you doing here? Get out of here. Like that's kind of what it's like, and so that's why, I sort of feel like, why would you do this? It feels very disconnected from the other two movies. It almost feels like another first act, like how I feel that The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are like two first acts. It's like we're beginning again. And it's like, it's just not a film that I feel is worthy of the final installment in the Halloween story as we know it, the iconic Halloween story as we know it. It's not a bad story in and of itself, right? If you were to remove it, or it has nothing to do with Myers, like Bruce said last night. Maybe it's not even a Halloween movie. Maybe it's just some thriller drama about this guy's descent into madness because he was bullied and, whatever, and he's in a you can even have Jamie Lee Curtis in it. She's just playing somebody named Jane, and it's a Netflix film that winds up, whatever, right? It's not a bad story. It's interesting. But for this, what are we doing? This is what you want to tell? Okay, all right. This is what you want to go with. This is how you want to conclude the whole thing. Okay. And listen, if you follow me for any length of time, you know that I preached on this channel that the more sequels you make, it is inevitable, right? It's inevitable that you are going to run into this kind of thing. The weird and unusual is going to seep in and all that kind of stuff. And, but it just feels like a strange thing, a strange direction to take for this, let alone his own trilogy. I don't even think it's deserving of, listen, I liked 18 enough, wasn't a fan of Kills, although I do like certain things in it. But even I'm going to say, dude, David, Danny, Jason, come on. It almost feels like they're insulting their own, what are you doing? Social commentary is nothing new in horror films. I've said that for a very long time. It goes back decades. Sometimes it's, overt. Sometimes it's subtext. I think the best social commentary is delivered as subtext. If there is one thing I will give the film credit for, again, I've only seen the movie once, so I'll have to watch it again and let things soak in a bit more. But it is consistent in its theme. Now there's a few themes running in tandem that tend to trip over each other, and you're kind of doing this. But I didn't feel, and I only speak for myself, I didn't feel the jarring nature that I felt in Kills, where it's like we paused the movie for 20 minutes, went over to the hospital with the mob mentality and all that to deliver social commentary, and then that resolved itself. And then we went, okay, abandon that and now go back to the movie. Like I didn't feel that. At least it felt like, as disjointed as it may have been, it did feel like we had a running theme underneath the whole thing, which is what you want to do. And I thought Rowan Campbell was great. I mean, he's a great actor. He did a good job. I thought Allison was sort of, I just, it's a Christopher Nelson was right. And again, I don't say this like he was trying to throw shade at the movie or anything like that. I have no idea what he feels about the movie. But when Christopher Nelson came out and said, it's weird and different, he's right. He's not wrong. It's weird and different. Now, maybe he inside thinks, no, I thought it was all right. You know, maybe it's not what I would have done, but I thought it was all right. Maybe he feels that way. So I'm not putting words in his, intention in his mouth. But he is right. It's weird because it's an unusual path to take for this. I think fans feel hoodwinked. I think they feel duped. Not everybody, but those who might feel strongly about this movie. Listen, when you are marketing a film, all marketing material, all promotional material on some level is lying to you. Now, what I mean by quotes, right, in air quotes, I don't mean it's literally like false advertising, but I just mean that the idea of marketing is to excite you and get your ass into the seats, right? So a lot of the times trailers and promos will be edited in certain, orders in certain ways with dialogue, because they're telling a mini story in like 2 minutes and they're trying to hype things, I don't know, all that kind of stuff, right? I get that. But this is not the movie that was marketed at all. I mean, in the last 15 minutes, maybe. But this is a thriller drama. There's no suspense. There's no tension. There's no suspense. God, even the mood and atmosphere is fleeting. It doesn't feel like Halloween, doesn't look like Halloween, doesn't taste like Halloween, doesn't smell like Halloween until maybe the last 15 minutes. And then it feels like it's tacked on because the writers were on page 96 and they thought, oh, fuck, we're on page 96. We got to pack this in now. You know, it feels like we needed more of that. Like, again, I agree with those that say there are interesting, compelling might be too strong of a word. There are interesting, I sound like Marty McFly. Hey, Doc. There are some interesting story beats and themes that is nice to see because it does help to elevate, a little bit, right? It helps to kind of add a bit more substance rather than just running around killing. Okay, fine. But this is a strange direction to take and then tack it on at the very end. I didn't mind the fight between Michael and Laurie in the kitchen, but it was too little too late. It was very fast. They paraded Michael around on top of the car like Aunt Edna from Vacation, and they dispose of him in not the wood chipper, but, something like that. Okay, well, and what did I say to you, right? If you've been following me for any length of time, I've said that and I didn't know, like I honestly did not know. I said, whatever they do, it's going to be final. I mean, it's not going to be his eyes opening and him coming. It has to be final. And I said, maybe they're going to blow him up, right? I said, maybe they're going to attach dynamite to him and you're going to know it's him because, the mask is going to be off. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, they didn't blow him up, but I mean, he's not coming back from that. The music was, listen, when you listen to the soundtrack, I mean, John Carpenter, Daniel Davies, Cody Carpenter, the music is brilliant in each one of these films. But it seems like each one of the films, it becomes less and less a character in the movie. I hardly noticed it in this movie. And I noticed it less in Kills than I did 18. So it almost feels like we're kind of, on this kind of slide. But when you listen to it on YouTube on its own, it's all great shit. It's all great shit. I thought Lindsay was underutilized. I don't even know why she's back. Is she a tarot card reader? Is she a bartender? She wasn't in the funeral procession at the very end. Missed opportunity. Maybe she had to go back to Beverly Hills and be a housewife. I'm not sure. For those of you that don't know, she's a Beverly Hills, the show Housewives. Anyway, just in case somebody's like, oh, are you saying that women can? No, I'm talking about the show that she was on. And Hawkins, I mean, Will Patton, he's a great character actor. Again, just kind of there. I don't even know why. Poor Omar Dorsey. I don't even know why Barker was in this movie. I mean, he's been a useless stooge of a character. And I'm talking about the character, not the actor. He's been a useless stooge through this whole trilogy. He should have just died. I don't know why you didn't kill him. I'm sure there's an opportunity to get rid of Barker. And Hawkins just should have been the sheriff. But anyway, so yeah, I think the film, and listen, as I've preached on this channel, the way they handled Michael Myers in this movie is downright, cringy. Again, you just don't understand. No, I understand it. I get what they were doing. I just do not agree with the creative decisions. That's all. And I don't, look, for those of you that might be new, I don't, if it, to you, it sounds like I'm being condescending. I'm not trying to sound that way. I'm just very passionate about what, how I feel. And, if there is, it's just one of those things where it's a strange move to make this late. It all makes sense. Michael's been away for 4 years. His energy is dying. He's living. I mean, I get it all. Like, it's not that it doesn't make sense. It's just, why are we doing this now? Why now? As your third, as your swan song for Michael? This is your swan song for Michael? And I think one of the issues this trilogy suffers, really this should have just been one movie. You could have, with some tweaking of the 18 script, you could have added more depth to it in how the town sees Laurie and how she's an outsider and all that kind of stuff. You could have, I mean, again, it's a slasher movie at the end of the day. Okay, that's what this is. So any sort of depth you try to add is not going to be some deep-seated Academy Award-winning drama. It's not going to be on that level. You don't have the time, and it's not the demographic. It's not the kind of movie. It's not the genre. That doesn't mean you can't elevate it a little bit, but I think that could have and should have been done in 18. And then maybe the last 15 minutes, there are people that are saying this, and I agree with them. Maybe the last 15 minutes of ends, although we can polish it up and change some things around, but the principal idea of ends where he is actually dead. He's disposed of. Maybe that's what you do in the last 15 minutes of 18, because the fight between Laurie and Michael, I've seen this before. I saw it in 18. They faced each other in 18. Michael had her up against the wall with her shotgun, threw her off the balcony. They fought in the kitchen. I mean, I've seen this before. So seeing it again, I don't think they did it any better in this movie. That's why I think maybe that it should have been more a part of the third act, where it's longer. You give more pages in the screenplay to it, with more action, and maybe she runs out of the house and she's running down the street, and Michael's chasing her, very sort of mirroring that, that first movie. And listen, I know she's 64 years old now, but I just think there more could have been done. It was the most Halloween that we've seen of the movie, but it was too little too late. It was too little too late. And again, I don't want to be misunderstood to say that, I just don't understand it, or that, all I want is just another slash. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. It's about focus. It's about focus and where the large majority of the focus is in this movie. It's a strange thing to do in your third act. It's strange. It doesn't mean it can't ever work or it gets pulled off. I don't feel it works here as the third act to David Gordon Green's trilogy at all. And I don't think it works as the third and final installment in the Halloween saga as we know it to be, connected to the 78 original starring Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode. I think it's very underwhelming, and I'm very disappointed. However, as a standalone movie, if you take Myers out completely, which is hard to do when you get to the third act in the last 15 minutes because Corey doesn't survive. But had you taken Myers out completely, and this was just about a kid in Haddonfield, it's an anthology thing, you could have Laurie in it too. You could even have her in it. You could have Allison in it. They've moved on, it's been years, whatever. And Laurie is seeing things about Michael and, I think there's something about, you could have all that the same. Just Michael's not in it. He never shows up. It's just about Corey. Do you know what I mean? And you can even have it where he shows up. Maybe he doesn't kill himself, but there's a struggle and Allison's got to kill him and there's a big thing and maybe Corey hurts Laurie and there's this whole thing and then Allison and Laurie survive and it's an anthology piece. It's an anthology piece in the sense that it is in the Halloween universe. You see, there's a couple ways you can go with anthologies, right? You can have an anthology piece that's not connected to the story as we know it, like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is not set in the same universe, right? That's one way that you can do an anthology. Or you can do an anthology piece that is set in the same universe, but it's not connected to the previous overall arcing story, right? It's a different story being told, but within the same universe. So there's a few different ways that you can go about it. You can certainly take this story and do its own movie, but you could set this in Haddonfield, and it's an all-American kid who was babysitting, and shit happened. Oh my God, and we see this kid fall, and the town is bullying him because the town is dealing with the residual effects of Michael Myers. You can still have that there, but if you're gonna go 80%, go 100. Go 100. If you're gonna go that far, go all the way. Go all the way, because ironically, I think Myers being in this movie almost does a disservice to the message that you want to convey. Not for everybody. Again, there are people that really like the movie, and that's great. And I sincerely mean that. I've said this before on this channel, but I sincerely mean that. If you do love the movie, that's great. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you're welcome here. It's okay to disagree. It's fun to disagree. It's fun to debate and go, no, man, seriously, no, I think it's like this, I think it's like that. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of it in the comment section too, which is amazing. But if you want to be taken seriously, and if you want me to take you seriously, you have to go beyond just, well, you're a fucking loser, dog shit, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't have time for that. I'm 43 years old, dude. I don't have time for that shit. So if you don't like the movie, that's fair. And you want to express it, that's cool. And if you want to express it to me in the comments or to somebody else, well, let's keep it civil. We're a Halloween family here. And I'm just telling you my thoughts. And, but I think this could have worked as an anthology piece. And then you don't knee jerk it at the end and sort of, and here's Michael Myers. It's like, get Michael out of here. If we're going to do, and I'm telling you, if I was in the writer's room, I would have been like, guys, if we're going this, if we're going all, it's like running a marathon, but stopping 30 yards from the finish line. Well, just cross the finish line. You're there. You're already there. Just do it. And then you have this, it doesn't mean it's going to be successful. It doesn't mean people are going to like it. It doesn't mean it's going to resonate. But now at least you have this cool, complete story that Michael Myers isn't in, but his presence maybe is felt because of what's happening with Corey. And his descent into madness is not because of being attacked by Michael and staring into his eyes. It's because he's being bullied. And maybe there's a discussion around, was Michael ever bullied as a child? We don't know. He's 6 years old. He murders his sister. We don't know the years before that. Who was this kid? And maybe there's maybe we see Laurie and Allison and Lindsay even trying to they go on this little adventure trying to figure that out. Maybe they're trying to find who was Myers' parents, and maybe they go to the library and they're looking at microfilm and they're asking townspeople, and that's where your focus is. And you can still have those running themes about trauma and PTSD, and you could still have that. But the second you bring Michael into this story, this particular story, which is supposed to be the swan song of one of the most iconic characters in the history of horror films, it's a splat to me. It doesn't work in that regard. It doesn't work in that regard. So I was very disappointed, but I don't think it's dog shit. As some people, it's dog. Again, it depends on what we're measuring, right? Right. in terms of it being, I mean, I guess in terms of it being a Michael Myers movie, yeah, it's dog shit. I totally understand why people think it's the worst movie in the franchise. It's awful. It's dog shit. Oh, it's bad. Resurrection. I completely understand. But when I watch the movie, I'm like, I kind of like some of the things they're introducing here. Why are we not just going with this? You know, and Rohan was good. He was good enough where I'm like, interesting, okay. And then you don't have to have him wear Michael Myers' mask. You can have him with the Scarecrow mask, right? Maybe you make it a bit scarier or like, you know, whatever, but you have him in a Scarecrow mask. You can still introduce that story beat where Allison is got and then they go to a party and he's got the Scarecrow mask and he can start killing people in the Scarecrow mask. And maybe he's still in the jumpsuit. He's in the jumpsuit because he works at the junkyard. I mean, you can still have all of that in an anthology film that is telling the story about what happens when somebody, you know, faces this sort of stuff. And then you have the Halloween alum that are there that are like, whoa, shit, we've seen this before, you know, and the town is sort of looking to them to kind of like, what the fuck is going on? And they kind of take a natural leadership role in the story and they're trying to figure it out. You can still have all that. You can still have that as an anthology film. Now you can't have that in the, you know, the final conclusion of the story, but as an anthology piece, 90 minutes, a what if kind of thing, you know, Tales from Haddonfield, a Corey Cunningham story. Yeah, I'm in. Count me in. But what was this? It just, and I'm going to say something here that I've said before, but it's one of those things, again, I have no evidence of this. This is purely speculation on my part, okay? But I've said it before and I will say it again. Because Jamie Lee Curtis, and there's nothing wrong with this, okay? But because she is a social activist, she's very preachy, she's very outspoken, and good for her. Watching her at press junkets and interviews for all three movies now, there is a common theme that runs through it. And I say this with all disrespect. I say this with all due respect because I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I do. So this is not personal. This is just an observation if she ever sees this, which she won't. But if she ever does, I love it. It's just an observation and it's my opinion and I'm open to being wrong. Again, there's nothing wrong with social commentary, but when you are trying to lift these movies to a level that they probably were never meant to go, and you want to deliver social commentary about the town of Haddonfield and how we treat each other and all like that's cool stuff. Like the social commentary in and of itself is cool, but for a Halloween trilogy, you cannot forget who your star is. You cannot forget why people are going to the movie theater. At the end of the day, nobody cares if there's social commentary in a Halloween movie. Now, if there is, and it's done well and it's done right, okay, you can affect people consciously, you can affect people subconsciously, you can, you know, through the use of symbolism and cinematic language, absolutely. But nobody is walking into the movie theater going, well, I hope there's some deep-seated social commentary here. You know, no, you want to see a Halloween movie. We all do. Even those who loved this movie. Yeah, you might love it in retrospect, but at the end of the day, if there was no social commentary and it wasn't about that, but they delivered a great Halloween movie, you'd be fine. You'd be like, that was great. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that's where the focus should have been. Because I cannot help but feel that Jamie Lee Curtis is the driving force for delivering and making sure that these three films have this running social commentary. I have trouble believing that if she was not in the films, that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride would be leaning heavily into this angle. I'm not saying they're not smart enough to add social commentary. I'm just saying that I have trouble believing that they would be leaning so heavily into it. I think this is a Jamie Lee Curtis thing. I think it's very apparent by her focus and where she tends to, where her focus is in her interviews and how she always steers the questions and the conversations back to the themes and all that kind of stuff, almost like she's preparing people. You know, this is what it's, because it's important to her. It's important. She's played this character for decades. She doesn't need to. She doesn't need the money. And the last thing she wanted to do is come back and play Jamie Lee Curtis again. Play Laurie Strode again, unless there was more substance, unless there was more depth. And maybe there was a bit of that in the script that was handed to her in 2017 or, whenever she got it. Maybe there was a bit of that. But Laurie saw opportunities to exploit it. Laurie, Jesus, they're interchangeable to me now. But Jamie maybe saw opportunities to exploit it a bit more, lean heavily into it a bit more. And it's like, I will come back and do this if we can make this a real focus. Again, I have no evidence, like concrete evidence to suggest that is what happened. But I think there's enough circumstantial evidence to point to that probability because of how she handles the press junkets and the tours for these movies. I mean, I will hear David Gordon Green vaguely talk about it, but nobody is drama, and this and that and doing this. And again, all that is fine in and of itself. But when you're leaning so heavily into it, when you have to pause Halloween Kills for 20 minutes and go deliver social commentary and then come back to the rest of the movie, maybe we shouldn't be leaning so heavily into it. Maybe there's certain things we can do through symbolism or through a little kind of moment or maybe a tiny bit of exposition or something that kind of makes the audience go, oh yeah, Do we have to have a whole, 15 minutes of screen time, and then Halloween Ends. That's what this movie is. Halloween Ends it leans heavily into that. Was this the right choice? Was this the right choice to end this trilogy and to end Halloween as we know it with really no Michael Myers, a disheveled, emasculated, beat up Michael? I cringed when I watched that. I was like, what is this? Why are we doing this? I mean, I understand why we're doing it, but I'm like, why? Why are we doing this? I can't imagine that James Jude Cordy, I mean, he's a professional and I don't want to speak for him, but I can't imagine that there wasn't a moment where he was like, oh, okay, well, that kind of sucks. Hardly in it, but all right. Hey, I'm getting a paycheck. I'll do what I got to do. He's a pro. Sweetheart of a guy. He's not going to cause any issues. But we're all human. And I can tell you that if I was in that role, I'd be like, oh, so this is what we're doing now? Okay. Why am I here? So that's how I feel about this movie. And I will probably have more to say on the film once I watch it again and the days and weeks roll on. I'll probably have some more I'll probably have another video and we'll talk about it more as well. But that is really, those are my first impression thoughts. That's how I feel about it. So if you're looking for me to tear this a new one, like how I, go off on Resurrection or Halloween 5, you'll be disappointed because I don't think it's like those films. Because there is a compelling story here somewhere, but it's in the wrong movie, and that's why I walked out of the theater going, yeah. Now some people say, oh, it's going to end up being a cult film, and it probably will, but I didn't like it enough. I mean, I don't think I will. I mean, obviously, Tony and I are planning on watching it on Two Dudes. I'm going to watch it again on my own. But I can't see this being a movie that I pop in on a regular basis. There's just not enough Halloween reasons for me to watch it again. If I'm in the mood for, character's descent into madness and some social commentary about how we treat each other and how, we should look at each other because there's evil in a lot of us. And sure, okay, if I'm that specific in my tastes on a Saturday night. But if I want to watch a Halloween film, I'll watch 18. I mean, and I was lukewarm on that, but Halloween 18 is the best in this trilogy. It's the best in this trilogy, and it should have been left there. Now, I agree that the ending of 18, if you were to just leave it there, is a little anticlimactic, and it feels like we should have had like another 10 minutes to wrap it up a bit more. And you could have done that. You know, like I said, maybe you have a bit of the end of Halloween Ends tacked on to the end of 18, and you do it that way. Or there are some people, and I tend to agree with this, maybe you kind of work the order around a bit. Maybe, you put Halloween Ends as the second chapter and Halloween Kills as the final chapter, because it's the third in a trilogy. We're supposed to be building to this crescendo. We're supposed to be building to this epic moment. And they want to tell us that, well, we did in Halloween Ends. We built to the epic moment of Laurie and Michael. Yeah, but we've already seen that before. We saw that in Halloween 18. And it was arguably done better. It's not like this is the first time I'm seeing them come face to face since Halloween 1978. If that was the case, then maybe it would have hit me a bit more. Maybe it would have resonated with me a bit more. But I've already seen them go at it. You know, happy Halloween, Michael. You know, and her upstairs and then up against the wall and off the balcony. I've already seen this. And that was a cool little battle. So to say that, well, we did, we had quiet and we built to this. Okay, well, I'm just telling you, it wasn't impactful enough. Maybe it's because it wasn't long enough, or maybe it's because of where the focus was. Maybe if you had a different focus for the whole movie, your 5 minutes fight in the kitchen, not even that, 2-minute fight in the kitchen would not, it would have felt better because of how the rest of the movie felt. But it does feel tacked on. It feels tacked on. It feels, I don't want to say shoehorned in, but it does feel like a bit of an afterthought. Like, oh yeah, we really want to tell this story, but oh, we gotta deliver Michael and Laurie. So they deliver Michael and Laurie. And look, again, and I sincerely mean this. Making movies is really hard, and it's nothing. When I talk about this, it's not personal. I don't hate David Gordon Green. I don't hate anybody who ever worked on the project. It's not personal. I'm just talking about my thoughts and views on the creative decisions that were made. And it's just, I'm perplexed and confused as to why you would decide to do this in your third act. If you really want to have impact with Corey Cunningham, he should have been introduced at the very least in Halloween Kills, but maybe even in 18. But again, that tells you that, this was not a planned out trilogy. They might have had an idea to do 3, but let's not forget, well, they did, but let's not forget that the original idea was to shoot Halloween Ends, that it was going to take place the same night as Halloween Kills. Now, at first thought, I know for some of you that might be like, whoa, that's a lot in one night. Hey, listen, a season of 24 happens in one day. It can be done, but what's the story that's being told? How are we executing this, right? Where's our focus? What are we showing? It absolutely can be done. And then Halloween Ends would have ended on November the 1st at 6:30 in the morning or whatever, when the sun is rising up and whatever. Now, you wouldn't have gotten all the character development that you necessarily got with the characters in Halloween Ends. No, of course not, because everything is happening all at once, all at one night. But if they are better Halloween movies, if they are better suited for the genre and for the series, and there's, they're, and that doesn't mean it has to be void of social commentary, but if it's more on target for Halloween, I would have advised that that's the way we go, because it's a Halloween movie. It should be a Halloween movie first and foremost, regardless of what Jamie Lee Curtis wants it to be, just so she doesn't feel exhausted coming back and playing a character she's sick of playing. Again, my opinion. I'm not saying that's true, but I cannot help, because she's also an executive producer on this. And come on, I mean, if David Gordon, you have to wonder that, Jamie has a lot of say and a lot of sway, and she really wanted to focus on this, and she got it. And that's why the films are like this. I guarantee you that's why they're like this. If Jamie was not attached, was not even in these films, she had turned it down from the get-go, you think Danny McBride and David Gordon Green would be leaning heavily into this kind? Again, I'm not saying they're not capable. I'm just saying instinctually in the writer's room, hey, why don't we do this? I don't think they're going to do that. No, I don't think so at all. But again, my opinion. So, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that this is how we end the franchise. This is how we, again, as we know it, this is how we end the Michael Myers story. I'm disappointed. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's a fine little standalone film, but it ain't no Halloween movie. And it certainly ain't worthy of the ending of one of the most iconic characters in horror history, and even David Gordon Green's other two movies, which I'm not a huge fan of, deserved better. Like, I think deserved more of a send-off, So, yeah, it's kind of like, oh, it's a weird movie, man. It's weird. I'm going to need more time to think about it. Anyways, let's jump over to the chat room and see what you guys are saying. And let's get this going. All right. Lots of super chats have come in here. So let me go back and get them from the start. Okay, the first one comes in from Godswilla. Sends in $5. Says, I honestly liked it. Only thing is, could have had Michael play a much bigger role and not be weak. I love the slow descent into madness from Corey. I do too. I think these are two movies that they're trying to jumble into one. And because the heavy focus, and it's muddled and it's kind of disjointed even still, but because there's this heavy focus on this other story, it just doesn't work. You don't need Michael in this film. I mean, Michael's in this film only because they're like, well, I guess we got to wrap it up. We got to make sure he's in there. Hey, what page are you on? 87. Is Michael in there yet? Oh, well, I had him on page 32, but I haven't had him in there since. Well, get him in there. It's just, why? I think the story would have been a better movie and a stronger movie had Michael just not been in it. 80s Tears sends in $5. Says, Corey was a better shape than the actual shape. When he killed the DJ, he definitely channeled Dick Warlock. His movements were so Halloween 281. Yeah, I'll have to watch that again. I love that, though. That was the most gruesome death in the movie. Cutting off his tongue, and his tongue's just, on the record player. We laughed at that. We thought that was really good. But again, yeah, it's not Michael Myers. So Michael Myers didn't even have the best kill in the movie. Of course, that's subjective. Universe 7 Gaming sends in a very generous super chat of $20. Thanks, buddy. Says, better ending in kills Myers. Better ending is kill Myers. Next Halloween, Laurie looks out the window and sees Myers, blinks, and he's gone. Then you hear you can't kill the boogeyman, or you fooled them, haven't you, Michael, but not me, done. Yeah, I mean, there's many ways you could do it. I just wouldn't have had Myers in the film at all. Period. And again, you can still have Laurie in it. It's just an anthology. It's a Halloween anthology film with Laurie Strode about Corey. It's compelling enough. Like, there's enough interesting themes and story beats that you should have just gone with that. No, I don't mean you should have gone with that as the third chapter, but you should have just been like, oh, let's put that over here. Hey, that's a cool idea. Let's put that over here in case we ever get a chance to do a Halloween anthology film with Laurie. Or let's put that over here in case we ever get a chance to do that as its own movie with nothing to do with Halloween. We'll just put that over there because that's an interesting idea. Okay, now back to the drawing board. Okay, so what are we going to do? Like, and just do that. It's just weird what they did. Cheese Delgado sends in $4.99, says, biggest question I have is, did Michael ride on the back of Corey's motorcycle on the way to the doctor's house? I need to see this deleted scene. Oh, probably not. But that would have been funny. That would have been really funny. That would have been so funny. His mask hair flailing in the wind. Andrew Jones sends in a very generous super chat of $20. Thank you, Andrew. Says, hey, Dave, didn't care for the movie. A little confused about their choice of bullies. The marching band kids at my school didn't seem like the bully type. Did I hear that the leader was one of the O'Doyle Rules clan? I'm not sure. Yeah, they were band members, weren't they? Well, yeah, that's true. Maybe that's just part of the Danny McBride joke. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he was bullied by a band leader. I'm not sure. I didn't have any issues with that. Like, folks, I'm going to be honest with you. Again, on first watch, the only issues I have is Michael Myers. It's ironic, but it's true. Like, the Corey, again, it's not a great movie. It's not a great movie, okay? But it's a serviceable movie, all right? Where it could have just been one of those things you watch on Netflix if it was just all about the Corey stuff and go, it's fine. It's interesting, a little bit of, and maybe without the Michael stuff in there, they actually could have elevated the Corey story even more and made it more compelling and more interesting and fleshed it out a bit more with it and made it deeper and sort of reworked those disjointed, kind of uneven parts of the script and kind of really, because you wouldn't have had this, oh God, we got to get Laurie and Michael. How are we going to kill Michael? How long's the fight going to be? What's going to happen? Slice him in the neck or so? Oh, he's cut off his head. No, we cut off his head. Like, you don't have to worry about that because Michael's not in the movie. So you can focus more on this stuff and make this a better, more compelling story. But the bully, I didn't really have any issues with it. Per se, in terms of act. I mean, there was some little bit of cheesy. I thought Allison was all over. I thought Allison was all over Corey a little too easily. I don't know if she just hasn't had sex in 4 years or what the hell it is, but she looked like she was like, I turned to Bruce and I was like, God, she looks like she's fucking really horny. Like she's just the way she's, but again, that's in the writing, right? Like the way they sort of quickly brought them together and, and it's just kind of like, it doesn't really work I mean, maybe it does if you're really desperate, but anyway, it's kind of how I saw it, but I'll have to watch it again. Again, I've only seen the movie once, folks. 80s Tears follows up with $10, says Corey is still alive. When Michael snaps his neck, he's facing all the way right. But when Hawkins arrives, he's completely upward, laying directly on his back. Definitely not dead. I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would say that that's just a continuity thing. I wouldn't get your hopes up. I think he's dead. Matthew Farisi sends in $4.99 and says, the divisiveness is actually amusing. As a standalone, I like it, but it bombed as a Halloween finale. Yeah. James Jude Courtney deserved better, still didn't hate it. I sort of, that's kind of my general consensus as well. There's a lot of missed opportunity. It's just strange. It's strange. It's just, why now? Why now? Right? Like that's really what we're talking about is why now? Why now? Why this story now? I get the social commentary. I understand it. So on social media, they'll be like, well, you just don't get it. No, I do get it. That's why I don't understand it, because I get it. I'm just like, why are we doing this now? It's crazy. Matthew Farisi follows up with a $9.99. Thank you, Matthew. Says, I was fine with an injured Michael slowing down a bit, but it was too far. His injury should have been an excuse to have him move back into the shadows and give us more stalking and suspense. That's cool. I agree with that. Oh yeah, no, having Michael, kind of go off into the ether and he's hiding out somewhere because he's injured or whatever the case is, fine. But I don't need to see his process. Again, when I say process, I don't mean his process of killing, process in and of itself. I mean, I don't need to see an emasculated Michael Myers. I don't need to see him beat down. I don't need to see some punk 22-year-old kid beat the shit out of him. I understand it. I get it. But if I was in the writer's room, I would have been like, let's not do that. And I would have been like, okay, if you really want to communicate that to the audience, is there a way we can do it where we're not showing it so much? Like maybe we hear it and maybe we hear it and maybe we see Corey exit the tunnel with the mask. So we're like, oh, okay, it's clearly communicated that he was able to get the upper hand somehow, but we're not actually seeing it take place as an audience. Now, again, there's still going to be that, really? He beat up Michael and got the mask. But because we're not seeing it and that image is not planted into our brains and it's not burned into our retinas, it might be a little more forgivable for us hardcore Halloween fans that believe that that should never be a thing. It might be like, oh, okay, got them. Oh, okay. Well, I heard a bit of, whatever, but I didn't see it. Maybe I would have maybe recommended that, and maybe we find a happy medium or something. I don't know. Who knows? Mason James sends in $5 and says, Dave, please give us a now that was a shit show. Obviously use the S word. Well, I can't, Mason, because I don't think it was a shit show. I think it was a Halloween movie shit show. There you go. But it's frustrating because I think I've talked ad nauseum for the last almost hour now about all this. I don't think it's a shit show. It's a frustrating third installment, a very frustrating third installment. James McMillan sends in $2 and says, longtime watcher, first time super chat. Well, thank you, James. Really appreciate that, man. And you follow up with, I loved Halloween Ends. I love your live stream. Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. And I'm glad you like the movie or you love the movie. That's amazing. And there's nothing wrong with that. And just because I rib on Resurrection and Halloween 5 and H2O, folks, if you love those movies, you are welcome here. It's all in good fun. It's not personal. It's not personal. I'm a theatrical guy. I like to have fun. It's all it is, folks. It's all it is. Howard D sends in $5, says, Michael's presence at every point in this added ridiculousness to the plot. He was a detriment to his own film, to this otherwise decent story. I tend to agree with what you said there. He just was not needed. He was not needed. I mean, he was needed in... yes, he was needed in this story because they wrote a story where he comes back. So if he wasn't in the movie, you'd have actors, you'd have the characters going, well, where is he? He hasn't shown up yet. I get that, but you don't need to write it that way because of where your focus is. The focus is so heavily on something that has potential, right? There's some potential in this story. Some. It's interesting. Let me see here. Jordanella sends in a very generous super chat of $19.99. Thank you, Jordan. Says, what is your opinion on Laurie and Michael's fight? It was short but well done, but I wish they didn't show his face as much as they did in the previous films. I agree with that. A bigger impact could have been made when Laurie removed his mask. I agree. They've removed his mask in every one of these films. And as I said I think I said this on an episode of Two Dudes, one of the things that is... there's two reasons why I would not have removed his mask. And number one being, of course, he's the shape. He's Michael. I don't want you to see any sliver of his face. But number two, this isn't like 1978 or 1981 or the 80s. We know who these actors are. We know what they look like now. We meet them at conventions and they're all over social media and we see all their interviews. So when you take the mask off of Michael Myers, all I see is James Jude Courtney. I can make the connection and the correlation between who that is and, what I'm seeing. And so I just see now look, they've done a good job at sort of, it's kind of there, but not really, like in Kills when he's walking after Karen, you just see the back of his head. But when he walks into the light, it looks like James Jude Courtney. And all I see is James Jude Courtney. I no longer see the shape. Whereas if it was an actor that I didn't know, or if this was 1985 and there was no such thing as the internet, social media, or, the convention circuit as we know it today, you could do that. And I'd be like, I don't know who the fuck that is. And that, the back of that bald head is very foreign to me. And it's like, whoa, there he is. Oh, wow. But now I'm just like, oh, it's James. James. Yeah. It's like, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to think that. You know what I mean? So leave the mask on or just do a better job at, hiding the face or whatever. But these were creative decisions that they made that they wanted to go with. I get it. And in terms of the fight, I've talked about it. It's fine. I do like that Laurie slit his wrists, into the side or the neck or wherever it was and the blood is pooling out. I like that because, it's a very sort of like, yeah, like what else are we going to do? Like, even though the other Halloween films are not canon, they are in the pop culture zeitgeist. And because they are in the pop culture zeitgeist, like you could have burned him. Now, I know you tried to do it in 18, but you could have burned him. You could have even chopped off his head. You could absolutely have chopped off his head because H2O is not canon. It never existed. It never happened. So you could have done it. It absolutely would have been properly motivated to do it and make perfect sense because it's a completely different timeline. But obviously they're not going to do that because that movie is still in the zeitgeist and it still is in the minds of fans. So they don't want to draw any parallels or comparisons, right? Oh, fucking H2O. So what else are you going to do? So I didn't mind that, but the fight was just, it was too short. It was too short for this movie. Like I said, it may not have been too short if the focus was different. If we had, allocated the focus differently, it may not have been too short. But it was too short for the epic conclusion to one of the greatest horror franchises in the history of cinema. Again, as we know it to be, obviously there'll be more in the future at some point, but as we know it to be, very weird. Very weird. So, it was, and the funeral procession and all that kind of stuff. I mean, how did they get the word out so fast and everybody walking up and seeing this and, it was, I don't know. Yeah. Mason James says, sends in $5. Thank you, Mason. Says, what do you think, why do you think Michael didn't kill the homeless old man under the bridge? I don't know. Maybe the homeless old man was just able to stay out of his way. Maybe that's why. Dave Kincaid sends in $9.99. Says, great points, Dave. Seeing Michael Myers transcend from killing the cop was something I never wanted to see. They showed that supernatural hint, which to me falls into his process, and that's upsetting. Yeah, I didn't. Again, it didn't. It's not like, yeah, seeing him shake as he kills. It's like, listen, I agree with those out there that say I don't know if I'd go as far as to say I applaud, but certainly I understand. I understand why these risks were taken. I understand that, I've preached this on this channel. I've preached this on this channel ad nauseum that, you have to expand the narrative, right? You have to do some different things. Otherwise you're just literally making the same movie over and over again. But it's still got to live in the DNA of the franchise. It's still got to feel like a Halloween movie, look like a Halloween movie, taste like a Halloween movie, smell like a Halloween movie. It's still got to feel that. And it didn't. It was too much of a risk, in my estimation. It was too much the other way. That's how I feel anyway. But yeah, and seeing him shake and I don't need to see this. I don't need to see his process. I don't need to see how he gets his rage. He's the boogeyman. He's the boogeyman. Now, again, some people said, well, he's human in this. And I said this last night on the stream with Bruce. Michael Myers, again, from the original 1978 film, he's always been human. He's always been human. When I can't speak for others, but when I say there is a supernatural edge to him, I think a lot of fans like to say he's either supernatural or he's human. It's both. It's both. But it's not as supernatural as you would think, and it might not be as human as you would think. It's sort of in the middle, but it's unknowable. The ambiguity, the mystique, the mystery, the enigma that is Michael Myers, that original Halloween, what makes him the way he is not knowable. And, that's why it's one of those things that, seeing his process, we don't need to see that. And supernatural, again, when I say that there's a supernatural edge, I mean, there's something there. Clearly, he's a human being. If you were to remove his head from his neck, even the original, the Michael Myers from 1978, if you were to remove his head from his neck, you cut off his head, he's going to die. It's not like Jason where the head could just like roll across the ground and reattach to his body, or Freddy where he gets killed but he comes back because he's literally supernatural. He's a dream demon. That's not Michael. So if you were to remove his head, yeah, he's going to die. As long as it's not a paramedic. But that's the point I'm making, right? But there's something about him. There's this supernatural edge. Did I see him? Did I not see him? Was he standing amongst the laundry sheets? Was he not? But he's gone. I didn't even look away. And did I see him? How did he get there from there? How did he? How did he take 6 shots? And he got up and just walked away. But I don't. How did he? And that pontification, that debate, I should say, that debate is what makes him so cool. That debate is what makes him, keep the mystique and the mystery alive. So I don't need to see him, on the ground, writhing in agony or in pain or killing somebody and having some sort of orgasm because I don't need to see that. Keep the mystery and the mystique there. It's not that he's supernatural, and it's not that he's all human. He is a human being, but there's something that we can't quite quantify and measure, and we're never going to be able to do it, which is why it's eerie and it's creepy. And, anyway. Mason James sends in $5, says, oh no, I got that one. Sorry. Got the Dave Kincaid one. Matthew Farisi sends in $4.99, says, I still think 5H2O and Resurrection disrespected Michael more, but it was still sad to see. I did like his Bob kill though. Yeah. Disrespected Michael more. Well, I disagree actually. I think that, well, it depends. It depends what we're measuring. I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, you're certainly not wrong. Gary sends in £5 and says, I thought Wham said Laurie dies, but I live in England and she lives. Are there 2 versions? No. I don't know. There are not 2 versions. Laurie does not die. Laurie lives. I don't know what the Wham guys were talking about. Maybe they were talking about theories or alternate endings, or maybe there was an ending where she does die or something, but certainly there is not 2 endings out there at the moment. Fishing with Fishgal sends in $5, says, the movie I want to see is Michael on the back of Corey's motorcycle riding to Dr. Mathis's house. Yeah, I want to see that too. Road trip. Tomlinson sends in $10 and says, why did a vagabond guy ask for Michael's mask and say, I am Michael Myers? I think that may have been Nick Castle's original role. And then Nick was just the fresher at the costume party. Who are you talking about? I'm not quite sure what you mean in the first part of your question. Although I will say I love Nick Castle's cameo. See anything you like? I thought that was cute. That was cute. That was awesome. That was fun. I really enjoyed that. But I'm not quite sure. Ask for Michael's mask. You mean Corey? And I say I am Michael Myers, and he says he is Michael. Maybe you're saying that by him donning the mask, he is therefore saying he is Michael Myers. No, this is just he's not saying he's Michael Myers. This is just him descending further into the evil, into the unexplained evil, and putting on the mask to kill. I don't think he's trying to say he is Michael Myers, if that's what you mean. Howard D sends in $2, says social commentary serves the story, not vice versa. That is true. And great social commentary is usually subtext. So, and again, like I've said, for decades, some of the great horror movies of our time have really great social commentary. And sometimes it's overt and sometimes it's subtext. But it never should be, we want to deliver this message. Now let's sacrifice certain things to make sure that this comes. It just didn't work. Just didn't work. Dan Sky sends in a very generous super chat of $19.99. Thank you, Dan. And says, I was entertained by the movie, which is first and foremost, but I do agree that this came up short as a Halloween finale. They needed to flesh out the ideas that were clearly there instead of rushing through them. I agree. Or just flesh out the idea. Yeah, but not a Halloween movie. This story is not a Halloween movie. It's not a Michael Myers story. It's not Michael Myers' story. Like, I think we can all agree, this is not the story of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. This is the story of Corey Cunningham's descent into madness because he has a run-in with Myers. That's what this is. You know, it's not Laurie and Michael. That's just tacked on at the end because you paid $15 to go into the theater. Jordanella sends in $9.99 and says, the film took chances and I respect that. Many choices I found myself thoroughly enjoying. I do wish we had more Michael, though. It was very interesting. What happened to Michael after his first kill? I don't know. That's a good question. What was his first kill anyway? The cop? No. I forget. I have to watch the movie again. It did take chances. And again, like I say, I guess I could say I applaud them for taking chances, but I don't applaud them because I don't agree with the chances they took. I mean, I guess in principle, I respect a filmmaker who's trying to do something different, but I think with the proper intervention, I think somebody should have, I think with the proper intervention, there should have, and maybe there were, but they were vetoed. I don't know. They were voted down. I think somebody should have been like I said, hey guys, interesting take, interesting story, but do we really think this should be it? And if it was Jamie Lee Curtis, somebody should have been like, hey, Jamie, interesting take, but I think maybe we should find a happy medium here. Or I think maybe we should, that's all I'm saying. I just, this is not, it's not, yeah. Well, you know what I've been talking about it ad nauseum here. Simon Mill sends in £10 and says, I came away feeling depressed after seeing it. Felt underwhelming for Michael's last one connected to 1978. I like the ideas, just not for this series of films, but hearing you talk about it helped lift me a bit. Well, that's good. I'm glad it does. I'm glad it helps to lift you up a bit. I think there's a lot of people that are like that. You know, you do have, you know, the camps that are full of hyperbole. It's the worst movie in the history of motion pictures, right? You get that. And if you like this movie, you're a piece of shit. If you say anything about this movie, you're not a real fan. You're not a real fan. It's so lame. So lame. But yeah, it definitely was different. And I walked away very disappointed. Very disappointed. Now, like I said at the top of the stream today, I may have been, I may have even been more disappointed and shocked and angry had I not known pretty much what to expect. So I think it probably padded it cushioned my fall maybe a bit more. But Bobby Jesus Follower Reeves sends in $4.99, says, been here since 2017. Not the ending I wanted, but enjoyed the journey here with you guys. Dave, can my wife Kelsey get a shout out? Love you guys. Absolutely. Shout out to your wife Kelsey. Hey Kelsey, what's going on? Hope you're having a great Saturday afternoon. Howard D sends in $5, says, the idea of Corey is great as an epilogue. Michael can die, but the evil never dies. It could have been cool if Corey's body was gone at the end. Yeah, maybe. That might have been interesting. Yeah, I mean, Michael is clearly dead, but you have Corey's body now, and we don't have Michael at any point like kill Corey, you know, his neck and all that. He's just lying there. Maybe he was shot, whatever, stabbed, and when they go to look for him, he's gone. And what's his, but that would clearly indicate that they want to continue with Corey. Now, some of you might be like, well, I'd be okay with that. But the goal of this film, regardless of what we think about the creative choices that were made, the goal of this film was to end it. And end it, they did. End it, they did. They absolutely ended it. And that was the goal. So, I mean, they did do that. Okay, let me just go back here. Let me see. I know a lot more super chats came in. Okay, one sec. Oh, I got to keep going down here. All right. 1 second, ladies and gents. Wow. Okay. There we go. Howard D. JT Mills sends in $4.99, says, this was like Friday the 13th part 5. The new beginning with the ending of the final chapter. End the Myers story before you move on to a new idea. Yeah, there's definitely parallels. I mean, I would never have watched this movie and thought, oh, Friday the 13th part 5. I mean, in terms of, you have a... Because we knew it was Corey, right? So maybe had the narrative... rolled out in a way where we didn't know it was Corey and we thought it was Michael the whole time, but ended up being Corey, then I think there would be a stronger parallel to Friday 5, because it's not like it's Roy Burns, right? When you watch that movie for the very first time in 1985, it's not like you're like, oh, it's the ambulance guy. No, you think it's Jason. You have no reason really not to. And then at the end, you're like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like that here. So although there's parallels, I don't really think of Friday 5 when I watch this, but I get what you're saying. For sure. And yeah, I think that could be an idea at the end of your comment there. Jack Carter sends in £8.99 and says, it's not even a bad movie. I really like the Corey character, but how the hell did the writers think this would be an appropriate ending for the entire Halloween franchise? Massive slap in the face. I think that's really what it is for, and again, I don't want to speak, listen, there are people that hate this movie, think it's the worst in the franchise, think it's the worst movie of all time, think it's the worst movie of 2022. Fair enough. You think that. I don't feel that way. I don't think it's the worst film in the franchise, and I don't think it's the worst film of 2022. But I do think it's a terrible Halloween movie. And I think it's a terrible Halloween, I think it's a terrible way to end the series. We'll leave it at that, for sure. AK Channel TV sends in $4.99, says, to me, there seemed to be an identity and pacing issue with the film. And of course, Michael being emasculated. What was that wrestling scene? Yeah, I know. Although I will say, when that did happen, because of the way it was lit and how they crafted the lighting, he's like lying in shadow and you can barely see him. And I thought he's going to sit up because they were just kind of sitting on it, right? I can't remember if they were sort of pulling back or if they were just kind of static on the shot, but they were just staying there with it. And I thought, oh, he's going to sit up. And sure enough, he did. It was a little predictable, but yeah, it's kind of fun. It was a fleeting moment of, oh, yay, something Halloween. AK Channel TV sends in $4.99, says, to me, there seemed to be, oh, I already got that one. IDT Kennel sends in $4.99, says, I thought the kid should have died from the knife Corey was holding instead of going over the railing. I feel that it would have connected Myers and Corey more. Yeah, I'm okay with how they did it, because when the mother looks up, she sees Corey standing there at the top of the stairs with knife in hand, right? So it's just kind of, he looked like he was the cat that ate the canary. Do you know what I mean? It's like, even though he's completely innocent, which I like. I'm glad he's completely innocent, and I'm glad it was a tragic accident, which again bodes well for some anthology piece. This is set in Haddonfield, You have Laurie and all that shit, and yeah, it could have been. You could have had the exact same story. The exact same story. Now, I'm not saying that if they had done this, all of a sudden I would have loved the movie and all the other film's issues. Like there's some cheesy dialogue. There's a couple of disjointed, nonsensical kind of direction. There's a few little pacing. Yeah, it's there. It's there. I haven't been focusing heavily on that at the moment. I've been focusing on other things. But you could have told the exact same story, really, without Michael. And it's just about Laurie recognizing there's another kid in town and she's trying to save him, but it's too late. And he shows up in the scarecrow mask, or a clown mask, so there's parallels. And Jesus, I think it's a missed opportunity, really, at the end of the day for something else. Is this your Halloween finale? I don't know, man. Awesome 50 sends in £5 and says, not a Halloween movie. Michael is treated so poorly. But even without Michael, this would be a poorly written melodrama. Glad this mess is over. Well, for sure. I mean, I think, it depends on what the benchmark is, right? Where the bar is. I think you make a good point. Even without Michael, I don't think, if the movie played out as is, I don't think it's a great movie. I don't think it would be a great movie. But without Michael, it might give the writers the freedom to be able to make it a better movie, because now we don't have to focus on Myers. We don't have to worry about some tunnel and Corey's meeting with him. We don't have to worry about some epic battle between Laurie and Michael at the end. We don't have to worry about how we're going to kill Michael. Are we going to piss off fans? We don't have to worry about that. We can nurture and noodle and massage more of the Corey story and elevate that maybe a bit more out of the realm of the sort of, because I agree, it kind of does have a bit of a soap opera-y, feel, melodrama, as you said, to it. It does. And I think you could elevate maybe it out of that realm if you had if you had no Michael Myers. But who knows? Who knows? Adam Fink sends in $5, says, added so many people survive getting stabbed in the throat in this universe. Oh yeah, but well, that's another thing. What's her face? The woman from Kills that got stabbed in the neck with the fluorescent light bulb tube, and she's the graveyard keeper from 18. She survived. Why? I mean, listen, I get it. Okay, she survived. We didn't see her croak, even though she was on the verge of it. It was really used as a vehicle to hammer home the idea about how the town feels about her and how they blame her. And again, that you could also do a film. See, here's the thing, folks. You could also do a film where they don't even have, maybe you don't even focus on the Corey character at all. Maybe Halloween Ends is about, you switch the focus, you get rid of Corey, you get rid of all that, and you switch it right back to Laurie and how she's dealing with the residual effects of the town and how they feel about her. And I even said that was probably going to be something that they would tackle, and they did it in fleeting moments, but they had to go back to Corey's story. This should have been Laurie's story about how she's dealing with the town, and she has run-ins with, which we did see moments of, but lean more heavily into it, right? Maybe because another option, like I said, you could get rid of the Corey thing altogether. There's no Corey. There's no kid that kills some, accidentally at the beginning of it. It's just about Laurie and what she's dealing with. And you can lean heavily into that drama and then you could have Michael in it. And anyways, I got to think about this a bit more, but that's some ideas. I mean, there's definitely different directions you could take with the foundation for what they've set. Because I admit, when she has that run-in with that woman, when she does have it, I remember, and she's sitting in the car and she's leaning against, the window, and she's got her glasses in her hand, and then Hawkins kind of, comes up and knocks on the window. I liked seeing that pensive moment with Laurie in the car, reflecting on the run-in she just had. And you could see the pain coming back to her. You could see is this ever going to end? You could see what the town thinks of her. You could see that. And maybe, well, let's lean into that. This is Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. Let's lean into that. We saw glimpses of it, but why don't we lean into that a bit more? Let's do that. And don't worry about Corey. Again, I have to flesh this out a bit more, and maybe these will be things I talk about in subsequent videos here on the channel. But these, again, my first impression thoughts about everything that I'm feeling and seeing here. Ray Wong Chi sends in 50 Korean dollars, I think, maybe. I could be wrong. It seems they had some idea with the radio tower that was scrapped. Do you think? No, I don't think. Well, I don't know. I don't know for sure. But all David Gordon Green said was that the radio tower plays an important role, or I don't even know if he said important, plays a role in the next film. He didn't elaborate. I mean, myself included, speculated on what that could be. And I know I went heavy into the symbolism and Samhain and the history of a lot of things and frequencies and communication. It was fun. I wasn't saying that's what they were going to do. I was speculating. But no, David Gordon Green obviously just meant that it's just going to be there, and the radio station is going to be, a place where in our film, I think is all he meant. And we took it to mean more. Awesome 50 sends in £2 and says, who needs to see Michael living in a sewer for fuck's sakes? Yeah, I didn't mind the Michael in the sewer. I just didn't need to see him emasculated, but to your point, you could have just had him walk off into the ether and then he shows up again. You could have done that. But then if you were going to do that, I would have had the characters in the movie at the very least question where he's been, kind of like to each other, like, how is this possible? How is he back? Where has he been? How has he been surviving? And these are questions that are not knowable. These are answers to questions that are not knowable. But to see the characters talking about that, I think is something you would need, because these are things that the general audience in the theater would be like, well, how the fuck did he just, what I'm saying? Even though he's Michael and he can just show up, I think seeing characters talk about that, I think is a good thing. But yeah, the funny enough, the sewer thing, I didn't mind. It was just seeing him weak and disheveled was like, oh God. Peter Anthony Production sends in a very generous super chat of $19.99. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that very much. As a Michael film, 0. The worst ever. As a Halloween film, 5. Towards the bottom. As a standalone film, 7. It was entertaining. I'm still torn. The most divisive film in horror franchise history. I don't know if it's the most divisive film in horror franchise history, but it certainly, it's up there. Top 5. Top 10, I should say. But maybe top 5. Certainly it will go down as one of the most divisive films in the Halloween franchise. It is probably the new black sheep of the family, overtaking Halloween 3. And they know this. David Gordon Green knows this. They knew this going in. They knew this. David Gordon Green, Jason Blum, Danny McBride, Jamie Lee Curtis. They all know this. They know this going in. They knew what they were doing, and they did it anyway. And it's worked for a lot of people, and it hasn't worked for others. Hey, that's art. That's art, right? Zigo RZ Skate 45 sends in $4.99 and says, your opinion on Robert Englund doing an animated Nightmare on Elm Street film for his finale. Also, rest in peace, Ted White. P.S. Dave, you looking real fucking cute, bud, nice lips. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. All right. I haven't heard about that in terms of Robert Englund doing a Nightmare on Elm Street animated film for his finale. Sure. Why not? Also, rest in peace. Rest in peace, Ted White, the actor who played Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. My favorite Jason Voorhees. Second would be Richard Brooker for me. So he lived a long life, man. 96. Gone too soon. No, he lived a long life and a full life. So shout out to his fans, and rest in peace, Ted White. I had a chance to meet him at Fan Expo here in Toronto about 7 years ago, and I didn't. Damn it. Ah, well. Travis Vickerman sends in $4.99, says, agree with you, Dave. The way they ended Corey and how everything played out felt like he was just a device to get Michael to Laurie. Thoughts? I didn't quite feel the same way about what you're insinuating there as I did with Sartain in H18. I think the Sartain thing in 18 was very strange, very disjointed, and they abandoned that too as quickly as they introduced it. The Sartain thing may have been, funny enough, the Sartain twist, if you will, may have resonated with me and maybe fans a bit more if they had just followed through with it. Again, I'm not saying I agree with him putting on the mask and how he was able to lift 6'3" Michael into the back of the car. Who the fuck knows? But okay, we suspend our disbelief and we roll with it. Instead of getting killed by Michael, maybe he does drive them to Laurie's house, and then while at the house he gets killed or something. Like maybe if they had followed through. but it's so disjointed and weird, and it feels so strange because they introduce this, oh my God, and then they just abandon it. And it's like, okay. But with this one, I guess I guess that's true. I guess without Corey, how would Michael know where Laurie is? But I don't think Michael, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, but Michael didn't show up at Laurie's house because it's Laurie Strode. Michael showed up at Laurie's house because he obviously followed Corey because he wants his fucking mask back. Fucking bitch beat the shit out of me and took my mask. I want my fucking mask back, bitch. So that's why, so he obviously was in the shadows following, or maybe riding his motorbike, I don't know, following Corey, and Corey happens to go to Laurie's house. So it was really circumstance. It was fate, I guess. But it didn't, it's the least of the film's problems. But there's probably better ways to do it. Oliver Mercer sends in 20 pounds. Thank you, Oliver. Appreciate that. Says, I kind of respect its efforts, but it's massively confusing in many ways. Along with some of its dialogue, changed to Allison especially. Dialogue exchanged to Allison especially. The ending fight was epic, but should have been longer with lurking. Yeah, no, this movie had had no suspense. It wasn't a scary film. Again, what is scary to one is not scary to another. When I say scary, I'm talking about genuine moments of tension and suspense, like real genuine moments. There was a little bit of it in the opening of the film during, the prologue, which is essentially Corey babysitting the kid. There was a little bit of that there when he's searching for the kid and he's walking around the house. I don't think they used music. And, when you're putting horror movies together, it's important to keep in mind that sometimes, although music is really important, sometimes scenes work really well and best without music. And just to let the natural environment, the natural sounds of the environment, whatever environment that is, a clock ticking in a living room, the crickets outside, the wind blowing, whatever it is, just let that be your soundtrack and build that tension. And there was a bit of that in the opening. But it's another Halloween film in this series that is just largely void of any, it's not scary. It's a drama. It's a character drama. And I said from the very beginning, I said this weeks ago, that this is going to be more of a character driven plot or a character driven story rather than a plot driven story. And it is, but a little strange, folks. Anthony T sends in $2, says, have you talked to Tony? What do you think? I have talked to Tony. Tony's not a fan. So we'll have some interesting things to say on the next episode of Two Dudes. Logan LeBlanc sends in $2, says, I thought it was weird when Michael dragged Corey in. Yeah, again, funny enough, I didn't really find that weird. I think maybe it's because we didn't see Michael dragging Corey. We know it's Michael, but we're not seeing Michael going, we're just seeing his body sort of, drag into again, it's that balance, right? Where that maybe it worked for me a little better because I didn't see him actually struggling to drag this 170-pound guy into the sewers. But maybe had I seen it, I would have been like, oh, why are we showing him dragging Corey into the shower? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I get what you're saying, though. I get what you're saying. But again, maybe on subsequent watches. Again, folks, I've only seen the movie once. So as the days and weeks roll on here, I might have some other videos pop up on my channel where I talk about certain things. I might reiterate a lot of the things here I've said on this show today, but kind of do videos specifically talking about those things, which I sometimes like to do. AK Channel TV sends in $4.99 and says, was Michael eating people? The homeless guy says he had been dragging people to the sewers. Also, why would he stop killing if it makes him weak to stop? I don't think he necessarily stopped, although I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe there just wasn't an opportunity. Maybe there's just people weren't going down there. Maybe he just was having trouble. He just was getting weak and he just was unable to, I don't know. Maybe he was eating people. Who knows? Maybe if you were to go back into that little alcove of where he hangs out, you'd find the remnants of dead bodies and skeletons and rats and dogs and people and who knows? I don't know. It's a good question. I got to watch it again. Dark Evan 1990 sends in $5, says Michael Myers was always supposed to die by fire. There's no way to pick this franchise up without a hard remake reboot now. So when you say always supposed to die by fire, do you mean that you agree that your belief is that Halloween 2 from 1981 is the quintessential ending to the Michael Myers character? That I can get on board with. But he wasn't always supposed to die by fire because the original intent of the character was just that one movie, Halloween from 1978. And the ending of the movie is him just being gone. He's not gone to set up a sequel, right? He's not gone to set up a sequel. He's gone at the end of that film to deliver the moral and the message of the movie. Again, it was this low-budget $320,000 horror movie that was just this creepy 90-minute Hitchcock film, right? And, the ending is, it was the boogeyman. As a matter of fact, it was. And he's gone. Oh, no. And then there's static shots of where he's been, and you hear his breathing. And the message is, he's out there. He will always be out there. And that's the kind of movie it was. You weren't supposed to get emotionally attached to I want to know what happened next, and let's go on and build this whole universe. It wasn't like that. But it became the highest grossing independent movie in history. So, I mean, it's like, oh my God, so naturally. And then, of course, it sprung the horror or the slasher subgenre, really, the golden age of it. And they made Halloween 2 and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's what you mean, though. But he was not always supposed to die by fire because Halloween 2 was never in the cards. Michael and Laurie were never supposed to be siblings. They were not siblings in that first movie. That was introduced in Halloween 2 from 1981. As a means to justify why we're still making this. That's what I mean. Michael has a shelf. The original intent of the character is a shelf life. So I understand, in that respect, I understand why you would feel the need to elevate these three films to something more because, well, he's just a guy running around killing people. The problem is you're doing that with a character that was never meant to, so it feels... I'm not saying that it couldn't have been done, but I think this was... Listen, there's good ideas here. There's moments of good stuff in these three films, but overall, it's a miss for me. Overall. Okay, Andrew Jones sends in $10. Thank you, Andrew. Says it seemed like one of the comic book storylines. I have no issues with that, but I agree with you. It wasn't the way to end the series. I agree with that. Anthony T sends in $5. Says, Dave, I usually have my wet dreams about Michael, but last night you showed up after watching you and Bruce in your car last night. Hope that's okay. Well, Anthony, I can't control whether you dream of me or not, but just be careful. I might have my Freddy glove next time. Cody Snyder sends in $5. Thanks, Cody, and says this movie was not rad, dude. No, I agree. It was definitely not rad. Javid Ben Kasame, or however you say that. Sorry, buddy. Javid sends in $5. Says, did anybody believe Laurie Strode's granddaughter had enough strength to snap Michael's arm? Well, Michael's weak. He's frail now. He's not the Michael he was 4 years earlier. Maybe. Allison just came out of nowhere, really, at the end of the day, and yeah, I thought she broke it off. Like I thought for a minute she had literally removed his arm from his body because he was so frail. That would have been actually quite comical. Luis Nunez sends in $1.99, says, what time should Michael come back from? What time should he come back from? Do you mean like, what do I think they should do with the Michael character? Leave it alone. Michael's done. Now, this is me talking. You may differ. Do I think they're never going to make another Michael Myers film ever again? Of course not. They're going to make another Michael film. But for me, again, I come from a different era as some of my viewers might. I'm in my 40s. I grew up as a young boy through the 1980s with Halloween 1 and 2 and Elm Street 1 and 2 and 3 and the Friday films. And so I'm not as attached to the later sequels as some might be. I can respect some of them for what they've done. But for me, I'm kind of at the point where I think the Michael Myers story has run its course. I think this thing is tired now. Now, it might not be in 10 years from now. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a need for it again. But the last thing I want to see is another Michael Myers movie next year or the year after. It's like, let's let this marinate. Let's let this breathe. Let's go do something else. Let's do anthology films. Let's do Season of the Witch. So, but who knows? I mean, I don't know what Malek Akkad is wanting to do. I don't know what he's planning on doing. We'll see. I'm not entirely sure. But maybe you'll see another Michael thing maybe in 2028 for the 50th anniversary. Who knows? I'm content though. I literally do not need listen, I'm a Halloween fan. I will be there day one. But I do not ever need another Michael Myers movie ever again because the story's played out to me. It's played out. I have the good movies. I have the bad movies. I have the in-between movies. I'm good. I'm okay. I'm full. I'm good. Do you want dessert? No, I'm good. I'm okay. I don't need any more. The story's played out. Now, maybe I'll feel differently in 20 years. I don't know. I don't know. But right now, that's how I feel. Terry Gold sends in $10. Thanks, Terry. Just says for the channel. Well, thank you, Terry. I appreciate that very much. Rad7 sends in $4.99 and says, your sequel concept would have been the perfect way to end it. Bring in all the elements. It's too many holes in Halloween ends. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have reached out to me over the last few days and said, I wish they had gone with your sequel concept idea. It's on my channel. If you want to check it out, just YouTube Dave McRae Halloween sequel concept or something. It'll probably pop up. It's basically 2.5 hours of me talking to the camera. I made it in 2019. It's my idea for a direct sequel to Halloween 18. It was before they even made the announcement to Kills and Ends when I shot it. And it's just me talking about what I would have done for a sequel. Doesn't mean you're going to agree with everything I put in there, but I have had a lot of people say that I would rather watch that than what they gave us. And that's flattering. I appreciate that. Cool. Tony J sends in $4.99 and says, Halloween 78 and Halloween 2 81 had no social commentary and were amazing. This is today's Hollywood. That is true. Halloween 78 and Halloween 281. I mean, listen, there are cinephiles out there that could drum up think pieces about Halloween 1 and 2 and find some social commentary, I'm sure. But if there is any social commentary in those first two movies, it's fleeting and it's a moment or a line or, what have you. But I agree with you. I think, I do believe, although I am not against social commentary, guys. I want to be very clear here. I am not against social commentary because when it's done well, it works really well. It can be very effective. But I think in these three movies, it's been a little forced and it's hurt the films because of it. Javid sends in $5 and $5. Thanks, buddy. Says new characters to flesh out shouldn't be in the last movie of the franchise. Dark Knight Rises did the same mistake. And he says the Laurie versus Michael fight was more satisfying in the 18 movie. I agree with both of those things. This movie is not, it's not a third act. When you are following like if you're doing three different stories, right? Like Indiana Jones, where each movie is a different adventure. It's a trilogy, right? But each one of those movies has 3 acts. There's 3 acts in Raiders and Temple and Last Crusade. When you're doing like the original Star Wars trilogy, for example, although each movie has 3 acts as well, each movie is an act in and of itself. And that's what these Halloween movies were touted as, right? Yes, well, to be fair, you could make the argument that even the acts within Kills are weird too. That movie is so disjointed. But this is being touted as, I mean, it's not being touted, but I've heard David Gordon Green and others connected to the film saying, well, this is like, the first act is 18 and the second act is kills and the third act. Okay. But then knowing that, this would not have been the direction I would have gone in. I mean, we need to bring it home here. We need to, you can still fast forward 4 years, but yeah, there's a lot of things this isn't third act stuff. This is generally not how you do this is a standalone movie. This is a standalone movie. That's what this is. That's what this is. I know it's not literally a standalone movie, but that's basically what this is. It's very disappointing. It's very disappointing as a Halloween film. Okay. Let me see if I can go back here. Nope. Gotta do this here again. It's okay. Don't worry. I'll get to you guys here. A lot of super chats coming in. Jack Carter sends in £4 and 49 pence and says they'll bring Michael back with the excuse that in Ends it was actually just Pennywise taking the form of Michael. Yeah, that would be insane. No, this story is done. This incarnation is done. I think James Jude Courtney is done as the Shape, although you never know. But this story, this connective tissue, this incarnation of the story is done. Michael got chopped up, guys. He's done. He ain't coming back. Michael Myers himself is never coming back in this iteration that we've seen. But we'll see what other iterations they do. We'll see, if anything. I don't know. Gary sends in £5, says, I think Michael is in it. Excuse me. I like that Michael is in it, and I don't mind he's not in it much. I just didn't like him getting beat up. Yeah, I didn't like that either, man. I'll just say that. I'm right there with you. Jordan Connolly sends in $5 and says, rather have Corey live new shape of evil. I feel Ends should have been 2 parts, where part 2, Laurie versus Michael, weakened from Corey taking evil from him. I don't think that's necessary. I don't think it's necessary to divide this film into 2 parts. I think you just got to pick what movie you want to tell. Do we want to tell the big finale between Laurie and Michael? Having social commentary, that's fine. But then remove Corey from the entire film. Remove him from the entire film and have it focus on Laurie's struggle living in the town. And then Michael he comes back and, whatever the case is, or maybe Laurie she's trying to move on, but she struggles because she knows that he's still out there. So she cannot fully move on until he's, dead. And maybe Laurie and Allison and Lindsay band together and go search for Michael. Maybe they actually go search for him. You know what I mean? And in that searching, they bring him back. Whatever. I'm not saying that's what you want to do or that you do, but I'm saying maybe that's a discussion that I start throwing out there in the writer's room. And then, David says something and, and maybe Blum's in the writer's room and we all are kind of tossing around ideas to form it. But that's what I would start with. I'd say, hey, if we want to deliver on the social commentary, that's fine. That's cool. Okay. But let's get rid of Corey then. Let's divert our focus away from this standalone story and focus it on Laurie. I don't know. Rich Famous Style 69 sends in £4 and 49 pence. Says, hi Dave, I sent a meme I created via Instagram message. It sums up my main gripe with the compromise they made. Oh, I'll have to check that. Yeah, I get a lot of Instagram message. Folks, if I don't ever respond to you, it's not personal. Okay, I get a lot of messages and I cannot respond to everybody. So if I don't respond, it's not personal. Sincerely, it's not. But I'll look out for that the next time I am on Instagram. That's funny. Streamer Moment sends in $5. Says, when Laurie was doing her novel, she said, evil recycles. Do you think Allison is pregnant with Corey's baby and that possibly will be the next movie? No. Listen, is that an angle that you could take? Sure. Maybe they will. But I don't think they're going to do that. But you never know. You never know. Frank, my man, Frank Riker sends in £5 and says, here's some money for any random two people's non-super chat questions. Oh, Frank, thanks, man. That's awesome. Let's do that right now. Let's see here, because obviously there's a lot of stuff going on here. Let me get this. It's not a question, but I will read this. Chris Brown says, if I'm going to rate this movie, it's going to be a Halloween movie. It's going to be as a Halloween movie, not rated as a good standalone movie. So final verdict is 3.5 out of 10. As a Halloween movie, as a Halloween film, what I did on IMDb. Very cool. All right. And then Lizzie May, the Border Collie. Lizzie May, the Border Collie says, yep, take Corey out. And this is actually a great movie. Michael still stealing bodies in the sewer. Search parties are trying to find Myers, etc. Yeah, I don't think just removing Corey makes it a great movie, but removing Corey gives you the opportunity to now lean heavily into making it a Michael Myers film again. Or removing Michael from the film allows you to finish off this Corey film, maybe in a different way. So yeah, thank you, Frank. Appreciate that, man. Andrew Stevens sends in $5. Says, Frank, I'll raise you to 3 people random question. Okay, 3 people. Here we go. Matrice Robinson says, just name the damn movie Corey Cunningham and give Halloween Ends another try. Why you just call it a Haddonfield, a Corey Cunningham story. Resident Dr. Evil says, I'm sure Michael will be back in the very next movie, provided that Dumbhouse isn't involved. Oh, you shouldn't call him that. Who knows how long that will be? I'm fine with it being a while. Well, yes, but it won't be this Michael Myers. So it's not going to be James Jude Courtney as a sequel to this one, because he was chopped up. He's dead. He's gone. It's over, folks. It's done. It's over. But the character of Michael Myers in some sort of capacity? Sure. But then what capacity would that be? I'm not really sure. Sneaky Cayman says, Dave, did you mention the part where Corey's mom suddenly kissed him when he came home from the party? Because what the fuck? Yeah, that was a little weird. It's weird because he's like 24 years old or 23. I think he was 21 in the prologue, right? So it's 3 years after 19. So yeah, he's 24. Listen, if he was like 4 years old, that's not weird. Oh, come here, baby. Mwah, mommy loves you, whatever. Okay, fine. But he's 24. What the fuck is your mother planting one on your lips for? That's a little weird. I agree. That's a little weird. I agree 100% on that. I agree 100%. Real Reveal sends in $2.79 and says, why does Laurie have Michael's mask at the end? I think, I mean, there's many ways you could stem off. What does that mean? Sure. But what do I actually think the intention is? I think it's just because it's the symbol of Michael Myers. And we're going to end on a shot with the mask in frame because it kind of just brings it home. That's all I think it is. Now, could you take it to mean more? Sure. But I don't necessarily believe that's what they meant. Frank says, sends in $6, says, fine, 3 random questions. All right, here we go. Let's see here. Not a lot of questions, but hard to find in today's, but I can get some. Let's see here. Awoken Nightmare says, it seems like he completely abandoned the original Halloween Ends treatment that was going to continue on the same night as Halloween 18. He did, or they did, since none of this would make any sense if he had continued. I agree 100%. It really makes me wonder and want to know, what was that story? What was it? Now, it may not have been better. We may have read it and been like, ooh, who knows? But it does make me wonder what that original idea was. And I wonder if we'll ever know. Maybe there'll be some interview with David Gordon Green down the road with, Bloody Disgusting or something, when there's enough room between him and the Halloween franchise. Because right now I think they're still close to it. And I think they want to put some distance in between themselves and the Halloween trilogy before they potentially talk smack or talk unfavorably about the experience or not. Who knows? But maybe we'll get it one day. I'm not really sure. Chris Brown says, yes, Ends is a standalone movie, but oh, no, I already got that one. Let's see here. Mass Machine Horror Show says, what I'm curious about was the whole window ideas and kills and had no explanation ends, as if they just scrapped it entirely. Well, I think it really was, the answer was in Halloween Kills. I think Hawkins said it, that people think he's, I'm paraphrasing, but he says something to the effect of people think he's looking out at something, but really he's probably just looking at his reflection and looking inward at himself. You know, I mean, maybe that would have been communicated more if he was looking in a mirror. But I think that's really all it was. So I'm not saying that is the answer. I'm saying that I think that answer was given. So I think that's probably what it was. So I don't think he's looking at anything. I think he's just looking at himself internally. And then Andre Lewis says they were super disrespectful with Michael Myers and the fans. Jamie Lee Curtis should be ashamed when she says that this movie was made for the fans. Yeah, I agree in the sense that it's certainly, I don't think this was made for the fans. Did she say that? Has she said that Halloween Ends was made for the fans? I haven't heard that. I know she said that Halloween Kills was a masterpiece, but I don't think she said that Halloween 18 or Ends was made for the fans. Maybe she did. I don't know. I definitely disagree with that for sure. And then let's see here. Agent_Cobra says they should have used Michael Myers more. Corey just got put in there out of nowhere. Yep. Yeah, we've been talking about that. It's a Corey Cunningham film. It's not a Michael Myers film. Not a Michael Myers film at all. Gary sends in £5 and says, and I didn't like them saying he's just a man, but then him and Corey had super strength. 1 minute there, then the next, so then gone the next. So which is it that contradicts themselves? Well, again, he is a man, folks. He is a man. But he's a man that there's this supernatural edge to him that we can't quite quantify. Now, when Dr. Loomis says, this isn't a man, it's poetic dialogue to help hammer home that supernatural element side to him, right? You know, he doesn't literally mean it's literally not a man. He's literally an evil entity. You know, he's not human. Of course, you hear him in Halloween too. I shot him. He's not human. You know, it's great dialogue and great exposition to help hammer home the aspect of Michael. You know, is he or isn't he? 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 You know, and that's the shtick, right? That's the gimmick. That's why it works. You know, so I wouldn't read so much into it and take it so literally. But certainly when they are saying like he's just a man, they are trying to remind you, well, you or the characters in the film that, you know, like Jesse Ventura says in Predator, if it bleeds, we can kill it. So that's really kind of what we're talking about here at the end of the day. But is there a supernatural side to Myers? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's creepy. It's what the fuck? For sure. Brandon Barry sends in $4.99, says, Dave, do you think Halloween Ends will grow on fans over the years like Season of the Witch has for some fans? Yes, I do. Andrew Stevens sends in $5, says, throw in But Dave as well. But Dave! Dan Sky sends in a very generous super chat of $19.99. Thank you, Dan. And says, given your feelings you've shared on the film, was there anything you loved about it, or was there a part that was your favorite? Also, curious your thoughts on the closing images with the mask sitting on the table. Was there anything I loved about the film? No, there wasn't anything that I loved about the film. No. Was my favorite part of the movie? I would say that, that's a good question. Again, I've only seen the film once, Dan, so I've got to watch it again. But my favorite part of the movie, it's difficult to say. I might not have one right now. But let me watch the film again a couple more times and maybe I'll have something that stands out. And my thoughts on the mask being the last shot is, again, just it's the symbol of Myers, so they decided to close on it, really, at the end of the day. Ryan Chandler sends in 10 euros. Thanks, Ryan. No, excuse me, 10 pounds. And says, wow, I loved Halloween Ends, but I was hoping to see more of Michael. Maybe the Blu-ray will see more of him in an extended cut. Well, maybe you might get a scene that was cut or something, but don't expect like him to be in more of the narrative or more important to the story than he already is in the cut that we have. Kevin Lee sends in a very generous super chat of $19.99. Thank you, Kevin. Says, a little disappointed how they didn't implement other Halloween films into the series. Like, where is Laurie's son from Halloween H2O, I think, played by Josh Hartnett. And this is just like Halloween 6, where they killed off Jamie way too easy. Hang on, a little disappointed how they didn't implement other Halloween films into the series. Well, because they didn't do that, because if they had, they would have had to have made Michael and Laurie brother and sister. Now, maybe that's what you wanted, but it was made very clear, Kevin, from the onset in 2017 that they were eliminating all of the sequels because, in John Carpenter's words, have you seen the sequels? He literally said that during an interview for Halloween 18 back in 2018, because the interviewer asked him, so why did you decide, have you seen the sequels? That's basically him saying, because the sequels are dog shit. Well, now we have some secret. Are we right back where we started? Are we right back where we started? Some people may think so. I don't know. But that's why. Because they needed to, they wanted to go back to the roots of the character. And you can't bring in the things that are canon in the other films. You just can't do that. JT Mills sends in $9.99 and says, throwing Michael in essentially a meat grinder is not something I ever wanted to see. It's going to be hard to accept that that's the ultimate conclusion for the OG 78 Myers. The whole climax was over the top. Yeah, I agree. It was strange to see that happen. You know, it was a little jarring to see that happen. But at the end of the day, I mean, you still have that original movie and you still have Halloween 2. You know? Anthony T sends in $5, says, it just makes no sense. Laurie was so angry and vicious in 2018, and 4 years later, she's mother homemaker. What the fuck? And Jamie Lee Curtis did not even know what she wanted. No, I don't think that's true. From a character perspective, it was properly motivated. So remember, it's 4 years later. Had she been like that in Halloween Kills, like 10 minutes later, it'd be like, what the fuck's going on here? Why is she making pies for all the nurses at Haddonfield Memorial? You know what I'm saying? But fast forwarding 4 years into the future, okay, we are led to believe that she's probably had, well, no, we know she's writing her memoir now. She's trying to move on. She knows it's not about her anymore. For 40 years, she thought it was about her. And Hawkins told her in Halloween Kills, it ain't about you, Laurie. And so her whole identity, her whole life has been shattered and turned upside down. She's in therapy now. She's getting the help that she needs. She's still dealing with the residual effects. She's still dealing with it. Oh, it's still there. And we can see that in moments in this movie. But she's doing her best to come to terms with the Laurie that she left behind before 1978. So we're seeing more of that sweet kind of innocent, you know, sharp-witted Laurie that we used to know years and years ago, that died years and years ago, that was reborn. So it does make sense. It would be very strange if she was still Sarah, although you could do it. It would be strange if she was still Sarah Connor 4 years later, having known and discovered it was never about her. So I do think it's properly motivated. Rob Gorgon sends in €2 or almost 2.52. I don't know how you say that, but some euros. Thank you, Rob. Says, oh, no, wait a minute. Anthony T sends in $2. Says, Dave, how many times have you seen the movie? I've seen it once. Rob Gorgon says, thoughts on the procession of the body at the end. Yeah, I would have done something different. You know, everything just felt so rushed and tacked on. Now, again, in subsequent watches, I might feel a bit different, but I do feel that it does sort of feel that way. And him, you know, attached to the roof like Aunt Edna in Vacation. You know, I mean, I didn't hate it. I mean, I didn't sit there going, "Wah, ah, ah." You know, it's nothing like that. It was just kind of like, okay, so this is what we're doing, you know. I don't think it would have been something I would have done. Anthony T sends in $2, says, I hope Funko Pops makes one with him tied to the car. That would be amazing. I'd want that. And I don't have any Funko Pops. Mark Warling sends in $10. Thank you, Mark. Says, Dave, Corey plus Allison felt the movie The Lost Boys. Michael plus Star also felt the movie Christine. Laurie should have died. Shape survives more. Myers overall. Never take mask from Myers. 2.5 stars. Love your little sort of compartmentalized review. Yeah, I didn't get any Lost Boys vibes, but that's probably because I'm not a huge Lost. Like I've only seen the movie like a couple of times. Definitely get the Christine vibes. Obviously, we knew that going into the movie. Yeah, we knew that going in. So I don't know what I would rate it. It wouldn't be any more than 2.5 out of 5. I can tell you that. And that's just because it's not a Halloween movie. Maybe it'd be higher if it was a anthology film. I don't know. Somewhat Dweeb sends in $4.99 and says, now that you've seen Ends, what is your canon for this franchise? Is it still the original 2? Yes. And maybe 4? Yes. For me, it's the original and H2O. Yeah, no, for me, look, I appreciate Halloween 18 more now than I think I ever have. But just because of how I grew up and nostalgia, for me, the Halloween story will always be 1 and 2. I will do my best in the future to give these films more of a chance because there's moments in vacuums, you know, in all 3 of these movies that I like. There's moments. And so I could see myself down the road watching them again, but if I'm trying to force myself to like something I don't like, why am I doing that, right? I'm being dishonest, with myself. I'm being dishonest with you guys. And that's not why you tune in. It's not why you send in, super chats. It's not why you subscribe to the channel or anything like that. So, I always do my best to be transparent and honest. But that doesn't mean that in time, in retrospect, we might come around to these films a bit more maybe, but as of right now, no, my Halloween story is 1 and 2 from 1981, and sometimes 4. But 4 is where it ends, right? If I want a happy ending, not that the ending of 2 is happy, but if I want a positive ending, I'll watch 2 because he dies in the fire. But if I want if I want just the original intent, I just watch 1, right? And he's gone. That's it. That's the end of the story. That's the end of the movie. He's just gone. That's it, right? But if I want to extend it and bring in the brother-sister arc and all that kind of stuff, then I'll watch 2. And if I want a positive ending, I'll watch 2 and leave it there. But if I want more of an ominous ending that brings it full circle, then I'll watch 4 and end it with Jamie Lloyd at the top of the stairs because that's the end. It's come full circle. Evil wins. Evil never dies. Evil wins. And Dr. Loomis was about to fucking go off on a fucking 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, I should say. What the fuck? It ends right there. Credits roll. There is no Halloween 5. There's no Halloween film ever again after that. Dark shit, man. Dark shit. I love that. So yeah, for me, it's kind of still the same. But I'm disappointed because it really makes me look at Halloween 18 now and I'm like, I'm still lukewarm on the film overall, but because of these 2 other films, I'm like, what happened? The Drunken Buddha sends in £4.49 and says, it seems like it was more of a reboot to 1996 Fear. I could see that. This went way off track to what I thought the trilogy would conclude. Agreed. And I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. Hang on. A lot of people getting their stuff in. Let me see here. Drunken Buddha. There you are. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be that either. Perplexed. Richard Bainan sends in just £2. Thanks, Richard. Appreciate it, man. Will Oxley sends in $4.99 and says, I think this could have been a great anthology movie. I agree. I've been saying that for almost 24 hours now. I enjoyed it, but felt like it wasn't a Halloween film. Any news on Dylan's New Nightmare? Oh, yes, Will. We are shooting Dylan's New Nightmare in 3 weeks. I fly to Phoenix on November the 6th, and I'll be there for a week, and that's when we're shooting, man. That's when we are shooting. It's happening. There'll be more announcements and social media posts and things like that once we get closer to the date, but that is when it's happening. But yeah, no, it doesn't feel like a Halloween film, and it certainly doesn't feel like what the conclusion should be to the Halloween franchise, and what the conclusion should be to this trilogy. It's a double. What the fuck? Jordan Connolly sends in $2, says, thoughts on if Corey and Allison both turned evil? No, I don't think so. I think Allison was just in denial. I think Allison, like I said to you before the movie even came out, I said, I think Allison is going to fall for Corey because she sees a commonality. She can empathize with him, because she's a bit of an outcast at the moment because of who she is, right? The granddaughter of Laurie Strode. So I think she finds him cute and attractive and all that. Sure, of course. But I think she feels sorry for him. And that's what brings them together ultimately. And I think she's in denial because she's frustrated and she's angry and she doesn't want to believe it. But that ends up being true. Dark Evan 1990 sends in $10 and says, how would you kill Michael if you had to? In this movie? I don't know. It's probably fire. I would do it the same way I did it in my sequel concept is I would have had Laurie and Michael die together in the Myers house in Judith Myers' bedroom. Laurie sacrifices herself to save her family and in turn saving the town of Haddonfield, which would then her legacy would be looked at as a bit differently because she sacrificed herself to save everybody. So all those people that had fucking problems with her and didn't like her might think of her differently after she's died. And I think that's what I would have done. Yeah. Burn him or burn him in this film too. Cremate him or put him on a slab in front of everybody and watch him go up, or I don't know, probably something to do with fire. I think the wood chipper thing is not a wood chipper, but you know what I mean when I say that. I don't think I would have done that, but I don't know. Gary sends in £5 and says, I don't mind messages in movies if it's done right, but nowadays they are subtle as a brick to the face. That's why I worry about X-Men series coming back. I can't speak really about X-Men because I'm not big in the superhero genre, but certainly, yeah, there are films that are a bit preachy and beat you over the head with their social commentary, and I'm not really a fan of that either. I don't like movies that try to tell me what to think or how to think. I like movies that will present options. And if you're smart, you know what, you probably should be doing in life as a good human being. You don't need to be told that you have to think this way, you have to think this and do this, or you're just a piece of shit. And it's like, no, I don't, come on. Listen, you should be free to make those movies if you want, but that doesn't mean they're going to resonate with people. And the best stuff, the best social commentary, in my opinion, is stuff that is subtext. It allows the viewer to think. It makes them question things and go, interesting. Yeah. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Not, hey, you know what I mean? Jay Sack sends in £10 and says, in the future, if they revisit the franchise, I see remaking the original film and extending the single night over 2 films or 3 films with an epilogue is their only option. A pure slasher trilogy. Yeah, maybe. But I'm just like, we're just going to tell the story again. Maybe if it's for a new generation and it's 25 years from now and, I'm in my fucking late 60s and, okay, maybe. I guess it's hard for me to get excited about that possibility because I'm just tired. I'm just tired of the story. It's been played out. It's just been played out. That's it. It's like watching a television show that was really good in its first 4 seasons and now it's entering its 13th season and you're just like, it's shit now. It's been played out. It's just tired. I'm done. It's just all it is. It's not personal, it's not personal. And to be fair, I don't think any of these three movies are, I don't think they're they're frustrating films. As a Halloween purist, as a Halloween fan, I get it. I'm overly picky. I'm not like a lot of people. My standards are very high. I understand that. And I think that's why these films are frustrating for somebody like me. Kevin Lee sends in $4.99, says, what's your all-time favorite Halloween film? The very first, Halloween 1978. Mine actually is Halloween H2O. It brings the main characters as well as the new ones more together in the film. Yeah, I'm not a big H2O fan. I was 19 when the movie came out, so I saw it in theaters, but I was a Halloween fan long before H2O even existed, right? So I was born in 1979, so I grew up as a young boy through the 1980s, and I was watching... I got into Halloween when there was only Halloween 1 and 2. H2O to me is, I understand why people like it. It's a fan favorite. It's arguably the Elm Street 3 of the franchise. For a lot of people, it was their first Halloween movie they ever saw. For a lot of people, it was the first Halloween movie they ever saw in the movie theater. So there's a big nostalgic connection to it. But for me, it doesn't look like Halloween, doesn't smell like Halloween, doesn't taste like Halloween. It's like Michael Myers walked onto the set of Dawson's Creek. I don't like the masks. I don't like the big eye holes. I don't like it's very 90s Scream. So not a big fan, but if you love it, it's great. Great. There's nothing wrong with that. More the merrier. Alchemy Street 321 sends in $5, says, I watched this movie Thursday and I was so conflicted. I didn't know how to feel, so I waited for you to do a video to tell me how I should feel. Well, don't do that. Never come to me and having me tell you how you should feel. However, I do understand that sometimes you can listen to certain people, and I do that too with certain things that I watch, that sometimes you don't know how to feel and you're having trouble sort of compartmentalizing your thoughts or intellectualizing, kind of, it's like it's all blah, 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 blah. But then sometimes you listen to somebody and you're like, yes, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. So sometimes maybe somebody like me can help intellectualize and sort of compartmentalize your thoughts in nice orders that make sense. And you're like, but never come to me, to try and, I know you're just joking, by the way, but for those out there that do that, right? We live in a world where there's a lot of groupthink mentality and, we sort of only, but I get what you're saying. Well, hopefully I've been able to help. Akeem Patterson sends in $4.99, says, Corey looked like Dick Warlock when he was at the radio station. That's the only thing I liked in this movie. Yeah, you're the second person to say that. I'm going to have to go back and watch that scene and take a look because I didn't think that when I saw it in the theater last night. So I'm going to have to go back and have a look on that. Riley O'Brien sends in $1.99 and says, give us a Busta Rhymes trick or treat, motherfucker. Trick or treat, motherfucker. There you go, my man. There you go. Dan Sky sends in $19.99 and says, what are the themes of the trilogy? What are the themes of the trilogy? Has then the phrase say something big regards to Michael? What are the themes of the trilogy? Has then the phrase say something big regards to Michael having never said anything? What do you think of them having Michael finally say something? I'm not quite sure what you're asking. You're talking about the themes of the trilogy, but the second part of your question I do understand, which is, what do I think if Michael had actually said something as Laurie slices the throat? No, because I don't think there's anything you could have Michael say that would be appeasing to everybody. It's unnecessary. He dies without having said anything, because then you don't piss off anybody. You don't alienate people. It's unnecessary. So no, I wouldn't have done that. And because I don't think there's anything that you could have him say that wouldn't either be hilarious or funny unintentionally or just strange, or weird. Why would you say that? You know what I mean? Frank Riker sends in $5 and says, for the sexy MFers in the chat and for the poll Dave's about to put up, whether you sexy MFers like the movie or not, it's just okay. I should put up a poll. I'm not going to do it during the stream here because I got to wrap up the stream very shortly, but maybe I'll put that poll up in the community section on my YouTube page. Might be interesting. Okay. It's been a busy day. Lots of people watching. I know you're excited. You can see the amount of energy I exert doing these kinds of streams. Okay, I think we're getting close to the end of the Super Chats. All Up in the Videos sends in $1.99, says, they should have done more with Corey's character. Well, I think they should have just got rid of Michael Myers and then just followed through with his character rather than killing him in the moment they did because they needed to bring in Michael to get the mask. Why don't you get rid of Myers, make this an anthology film about Corey, and then don't kill him there. Have a fight ensue between Laurie and Corey and Allison. That's what I think. If you're going to tell this story. And that doesn't mean it's going to be good either. But Gary sends in £5, says, the fact that this was originally set in one night makes me definitely think this isn't the original Kills. Hashtag release the green cut. Well, there would be no green cut. So I know you're joking, right? But it's not like they shot another film. They had written another film, but we don't even know if it made it to the screenplay stage. We have no idea. There may have been a first draft, but it might have just been a treatment. Or even if there was a first draft, it might be like really early, like not a draft that you would go to camera with. So we really have no idea how, at least I don't, and unless that information is out there, we really have no idea how far along they were, in that other idea. But COVID hit, the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what? And why they steered course? I don't know. I mean, they've given some reasons, but I don't know. But no, there is no other cut out there. But I would just like to know what the idea was. Chris Snyder sends in $10. Hey, Chris. It says, I see this trilogy really being about Michael and the effect he has on all of Haddonfield, not just Laurie. That's the uncommon thread through all the that's the common thread through all the films. They just marketed as Michael and Laurie. Yeah, I could see that, Chris. I could see what you're saying. I think there is definitely a running theme to have this about, the town of Haddonfield and all that kind of stuff. But then the question then becomes, was that the right move to make? Is this story trilogy worthy? Or is this something that you could not do in just 2 hours of one movie? Which I think you can. If you had structured 18 a bit differently, you can add all of that social commentary about how the town feels about Laurie. Get rid of Corey, and you've got Laurie. That rhymed. And we get a sense of that. We get a sense of what the town thinks of Laurie in that first film. But just do a one-off film and make it really all about that. And you have Halloween and Michael and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know if the story that they were creating and extending here really merits 3 installments. I really don't. So I think you're right. I think that's an astute observation, but that doesn't mean that it's working. Maybe it would work in one movie, but over 3 films, I think we're starting to suffer because you still need to deliver on the Halloween stuff, LBZ sends in $4.99 and says, what if Allison is pregnant with Corey's child and the child eventually becomes a new shape? Yeah, I see a lot of people saying that. That could possibly work as a new direction for the story. Sure, it could. I don't know how fans would feel about that. I should do a poll about that. Maybe I'll put that up and see what people think. I don't think that's what they're going to do, by the way, folks. This is it. The David Gordon Green trilogy is done. This story is done. But hey, you never say never. Weirder things have happened. Fast Forwards 289 sends in $9.99, says, what's up, Dave? I've seen Ends twice now, and I can say I hate this movie. I felt off from the beginning, and the way they handled Michael is so disrespectful and cringy. Well, I don't hate the movie. And I know that there's a lot of people that probably wish I did because they want to see me rant and rave and just helps to justify their feelings on the movie. I get it. I understand it. But I don't hate the movie. But I can't say I like the movie either as a Halloween film. So I empathize, man. I get it. I get what everybody's talking about. You know, the bumpy road, the pacing. I get it. Like I get certain decisions. Like I get it. I get it. And how they handled Michael, yeah. I was like, oh, no. John Herbert sends in $4.99, says, believe my super chat was accidentally missed. If you didn't, my bad. Okay, John, let me scroll back here. I may have missed it. Looking for you. Okay, here it is. $4.99 says, damn, that kid hit. I did miss it. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Says, damn, that kid hit hard on the floor in the beginning of the movie. He did. Yeah, that was it was tough. It was hard. He smack right in the right there, like no. Totally, really tough. Really tough. Agree with that. Chris Snyder follows up with $5. Says 2018, everyone. It's been 40 years. Lori gets over it, kills. I see what you're saying. 2018, everyone. It's been 40 years. Lori gets over it, kills. Everybody fights back. Ends. They make Corey a villain, and all gather to watch Michael die. It sounds like what you've said. It sounds like what it is, but I just don't think it worked. There's moments that work, but I don't think as a cohesive trilogy, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. Dan Sky sends in $19.99 and says, wow, so sorry for all those typos, Dave. That's okay. Hey, it happens, man. Thumbs on the, it happens. That's the last time I used voice to text. Oh yeah. No, the voice to text. If you're going to use voice to text, always go over it and make sure, because there's no doubt that I can always tell when somebody has used voice to text, because they'll like, I'll see Lori is like LORY, or something. And voice to text actually, it's crazy. I love voice to text, but always do a double check if before you hit send. Wow, so sorry for all the typos, Dave. Last time I used voice text, but in all honesty, thank you for doing these live streams. I really have appreciated hearing all your opinions for the last 5 years. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Look, I wouldn't be here doing this if you guys weren't here tuning in. And like I've said from the get-go, we don't always have to agree. I'm an animated character. I'm a theatrical guy. I understand I can be an acquired taste for some. I come across as blunt and loud, and I get all that. But just like I always say, take me seriously, but don't take me too seriously. I like to have fun on the channel and be entertaining and deliver my thoughts in a entertaining way. That's what I want to do, right? So I'm glad that you've enjoyed it, and I'm glad that you've stuck around, and I'm glad that you've got something out of it, man. And thank you very much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Fast Forwards 289 sends in $9.99, says it also made me like Kills more, which isn't saying much because I didn't really like Kills either. But it had moments that felt like a Halloween film. This movie had nothing to me. Great show, Dave. Thank you, Fast Forwards. Appreciate that. Kills still has all the issues that it has. But in terms of feeling and looking like a Halloween movie, sure. Yeah, no, it succeeds in spades over Ends. Absolutely. Ends, although there are some pacing issues with Ends, it's not as flawed structurally as Kills. It's not. It is more in line with 18, but I still think 18 is the best one. Kevin, $1.99 says, where's the cops in the film? The cops? You mean like the cops in general, or do you mean Hawkins or Barker? Well, the cops were there. They were hanging out at the restaurant too, or whatever, I think. I'm not sure who you mean. Maybe you mean like the cops from Halloween 5. I'm not entirely sure. Who knows? All right, let me see here. You guys are amazing. Okay, wait a sec here. Oh, hang on. I get that. Oh, I did. Okay. I did. So let me scroll down. Great. I can move away from the other page and actually scroll down. Oh, wait. Oh, hang on a sec. Oh, okay, hang on. I gotta go. There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the chats, and I don't want to miss any. There we go. Okay, now I'm caught up. Gary sends in £2 and says, I meant to say ends in my last super chat, not kills. Oh, okay, Gary, I'm not sure what you had said in your last super chat. Let's see here. The fact that it was originally said in one night makes me definitely think this isn't the original release. That was your last one. Maybe you meant before that one. I'm not sure, Gary. I'm not sure, but fair enough. Okay, I got to move on here, guys. Sorry. Jordan Carter sends in $2, says, thoughts on Michael choking Laurie hand-holding. I like the choking of Laurie, and I like sort of the quick cuts and the flashbacks of, the OG film and all that kind of stuff. That's cool. I mean, that's what you paid money to go see. That's why you're sitting in the theater. Is now all of a sudden it feels like a Halloween movie. That's why you're there, right? Ultimately, that's why you're there. The holding of the hand, I know they did, but I wasn't really focused on that. So I got to watch the movie again. Again, keep in mind, I've seen it once. So I got to watch that again. Alchemy Street 321 or Saint maybe sends in $5, says, no, I wasn't joking. I really waited for your video to drop. I didn't know how to feel. You're the only person that makes me see stuff that I miss. Oh, okay, cool. Well, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. That's awesome. No, I get it. I totally get it. Sometimes there are people that you just, can help you formulate it's not that you're taking their opinion, or it's just that you already feel that way, but you're having trouble sort of compartmentalizing those thoughts, and this person does it for you, and you're like, yeah, thanks, man. That's what I wanted to say. Totally get it. And I'm glad that I can do that for you. That's amazing. That's awesome. All right. Oh my goodness. Did I get all the super chats? I think I did. I think I did get all the super chats. All right, folks, listen. That is going to do it for me here on this live stream right now. I got to go. I've been on for 2.5 hours now. I really appreciate you all tuning in. You are all amazing. All amazing. Thank you to my great moderators, of course, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, Cody Snyder, and Andrew Stevens. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate you doing what you do. Thank you to all the super chat questions that came in today. You guys are amazing. My apologies for not being able to get to some of the non-super chat questions or statements. It's nothing personal, but of course, this was a big stream. This was a big event stream. I'm sure you guys understand, obviously, the super chat questions take priority for obvious reasons. But you guys are amazing. I definitely will be back very soon with probably a standalone video pre-recorded, giving some attention to specific thoughts on the film when I've seen it again. Tony, Michael, and I are going to watch it on the next episode of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. So make sure you look out for that. But you guys are amazing. Sincerely, I wouldn't be here if you guys weren't tuning in. So thank you, folks, for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. And comment below and let me know your thoughts. Keep it civil, keep it friendly, but let me know your thoughts on Halloween Ends and your experience with this movie, what you liked, what you didn't like, what worked, what didn't work. If you want to follow me on social media and you're not already, what the hell are you doing? Right there, Twitter. Oh, wait, there we go. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all my links are in the description. Check them out until your heart's content. And when your heart is content, check them out again. Oh, Fast Forwards 289 sends in one at the buzzer. Sends in $4.99 and says, it's been a great ride with you the past 5 years. Take care, Dave. You too, Fast Forwards 289. And it's not over. I mean, it's the end of an era. It's the end of an era, but we are still, there's much work to be done. There's much work to be done. All right, folks, have a great rest of your Saturday. Be safe out there and comment below and let me know your thoughts on Halloween Ends. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Cheers.